right. I have my little note sheet here.
Oh, your note sheet.
Oh my God, note sheet.
Yeah, he prepared. He sent me
preparation.
You guys sent me a really in-depth thing about your life.
Paige is doing it now.
Yeah.
So I listen to like one podcast episode. That's my research, and I do the Wikipedia. Maybe watch a special.
Yeah.
But Paige has started writing a book report.
She's very aggressive in her things that you need to prepare for the podcast.
Oh yeah.
Has anyone ever told you about that?
I wouldn't say aggressive. I'd say thorough. I think comedians.
Thorough. Yes, I appreciated the thorough.
Sure.
But she's also like, no, don't do this.
What was it?
I have to look. I
for
liked
like
it,
this has got to stop.
Yeah,
we go like, don't do like social media.
Social media's gotta stop.
Or like blessing. We had a guest once who was like, my blessing is music. And I was like,
good.
Yeah. Great. Well, that's not going to be a clip. So
no, but she sent this thing.
See how much soul this podcast has. I'm not going to be able to turn that into anything.
Yeah.
I know the name of the priest involved in the pedophile cover-up at the Irish boarding school that you didn't even hear.
Well, I'm not going to tell you the story, but you have no idea how you think you said something like random there, but without getting into details, because I'm not going to get into details, literally 25 minutes ago, I got the craziest email about a clerical person from a previous institution that I went to that was looking to contact me. And I happen to know that he is anyway, long story short, it was the craziest fucking thing. And it just happened to me.
Wait, he reached out to you for what? For testimony?
No, to meet up with me. But it's
just
a
little late.
It's odd. It's odd.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, wow.
Anyway, yeah, what are the odds? Pedophilia in the Catholic Church?
No, I went to three high schools, one in New York and two in Ireland.
Yes.
And all three of them have had major scandals.
Yeah, I was baptized by a man who eventually came out and
Came out?
No, came out as a pedophile.
As a gay pedophile.
as a pedophile. Not like, no.
Anyway. Because it's like, no, but the problem is it's like, these are like people that could notice themselves. I don't want to fuck up anything.
Well, we don't have to go specific, but I am curious, like, when you were growing up, were there always rumors about this?
No, so the one that's easiest to talk about is my Irish boarding school.
Sure.
Because
they're far away.
Well, it was actually one of the first big cases, like pre-Boston.
Oh, wow.
Okay, because Boston was the big American case.
Yeah.
But anyway, my principal went to jail. He was part of the Ferns report, which is kind of, if you look it up, you'll see it's the first real big report on clerical sexual abuse in the Catholic Church.
And was he an abuser or did he help with the cover-up?
No, he was an abuser.
Wow. He was an abuser.
Yeah, he was an abuser, and he was my principal. Holy. And I had a few odd interactions with him, but I was never in, like, from my understanding, never really in any danger with him. However, in my adulthood, I discovered that it was still going on when I was there to a lesser degree. But do
you think they're like, back in the 60s, it was wild?
Oh,
this
man,
was the 90s.
Should have been here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, but did you, when you were at school before this all broke, were there rumors? Were there people being like, stay away from that one?
Exactly.
Well, I actually had a joke in one of my earliest shows because his nickname was Slinky, right? So I was like, why do we call him Slinky? And they were like, because he's a pedophile. And I was like, well, shouldn't we do something about it? But that was kind of like, there was a little bit of poetic license on that. But I can verify for sure that there were rumors that he was a bit like that. But it was like, honestly, in my innocence, and it's hard to look back in hindsight because now it just seems so obvious, but it wasn't obvious then. Like, people didn't talk about it then.
Yeah.
There was no court cases. There was nothing. It was all just like brushed under the rug stuff. So I actually never in a million years thought that could be going on.
Never in a million years. No guy like started being weird, or no one said like, ugh, I hate Father so-and-so. And they were like, why?
Well, these rumors were there, but I just thought it was like a joke, you know? Like the way that you'd be like, that guy down the street is like the creepy guy.
Yeah.
Was his nickname really Slinky?
No, that's real.
Oh, what was the connect? It felt a really quick Slinky.
I actually don't know, but that's why
he's slinking.
Because he makes a noise when he goes down the
might have been
stairs.
Slinker, you know.
Slinker.
I don't know why, but his nickname was related to the fact that he was a bit. Yeah, I can't even tell you why. I know, but I know that he was rumored at the time to be like that. But
Oh
I literally just thought it was like a thing that you said about him.
Do you, when you look back on these authority figures who maybe chastised you, or maybe you got, disciplined you, or like, do you look back with rage, or do you wish you could confront them? Do you have friends whose lives were fucked up by them? Like, how does it feel?
Well, I confronted a teacher that was there at the time. I said, I met him outside the school, because I actually went back to like talk to some of the students, just like nothing to do with any of this. But when I met him, I said, I got a bit of resentment against you guys because all that shit was going on and you guys never did anything about it. And he said, I genuinely did not know. And I said, I know that you'll find that hard to believe, but these children's parents didn't know. Like, I really did not know.
Wow.
Had I known, I would have done something, but I had no idea, so.
Yeah, he's like, I thought Slinky liked the toy. Yeah. Like, he's just like fun for all the kids.
I mean, it's quite a serious thing. But anyway, that school that I went to was well documented.
And all three high schools you went to, there was a scandal at each and every one.
Yeah, but I mean, I think almost all Catholic institutions have them.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the Boston thing uncovered. That it was like it was everywhere. It was
an epidemic.
Yeah.
This is the downside.
Anyway, it's just funny that you started with.
You're listening to The Downside.
The Downside.
With Gianmarco Soresi.
Welcome to The Downside, a podcast where we review clerical sex abuse trials and cases. That's the soonest we've reached pedophilia in an episode. That's a new record.
Well, you started it, but then it was just a funny coincidence because this just happened.
It's amazing.
Yeah. But it sounds like with you, it might happen once a week. Yeah. So, it's not.
No. This one's weird, though.
Yeah, that is.
I don't want to get into details because it's like an ongoing.
You keep teasing it. You go, I don't want to get into details, but this one is a really good podcast
I'll tell you
story.
why, because there's an ongoing civil case on this one.
Yeah.
And
this guy's involved in it. And I got fucking contacted.
Oh, wow.
As a character witness?
No, I got contacted as if it's nothing to do with any of this. I got contacted because he went here and I would like to meet him, as in like I see he's doing well. Nothing to do with anything that we're talking about.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
But I happen to know that he's named in a civil case.
Oh, okay. As
no.
One of the just named
as perhaps an enabler.
Oh, wow.
Great.
Perhaps somebody who should have done something.
Sure.
So
you're going to help him with that favor?
That's why I just thought it was so weird that you mentioned that, because I was like, I literally gave myself a pep talk leading up to here being like, I'm just not going to talk about that because it just happened.
Yeah. So when are you going to see him?
I'm not. I actually...
I literally, someone asked me to do a favor, an old teacher. It was like, someone wants to get into comedy. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, here's my number. And then they texted I couldn't talk. I said, hey, could you talk tomorrow? Give me a call. So I said, oh, I can't. I'm going on my birthright trip tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, I didn't want to do this to begin with.
Oh, come on.
Right now?
He's go, oh, okay.
Right now?
Well,
I'm just saying, look, I wasn't into it. I'm looking for any kind of excuse.
Sure.
They could have missed the call or gone to Israel. One of the two. I go, we don't need to do this. This is a place we can complain. We can be negative. We could be honest about how shitty we might be, or how shitty the people around us who disciplined us, who raised us, who taught us. This is The Downside. Please join the Patreon, patreon.com/downside. 2 bonus episodes every month. And we have footage from our live episodes. Douglas Goodhart is filling in for Russell today.
I am. Hi.
Russell's in rehearsals for his off-Broadway play. But if you join the Patreon, you can see Douglas joined us for, I believe, the next live show we're releasing in Burlington, Vermont.
In Vermont, that was so fun.
We played some guitar. We sang some Rent. So join that Patreon. It's a good time.
Yeah.
We're so excited to be joined by stand-up comedian Des Bishop.
I only realized halfway through your little interlude there that you were looking at a camera. I was like, what is he looking at?
You thought the only was a camera on you?
No, I was thinking like,
you thought this is 60 Minutes style?
With eye contact actually was what I was thinking.
Sure.
Why is he looking over there?
My God, I dated a girl who could not look me in the eyes. Have you ever met a person like that where you, after being with them for a little bit?
They're called autistic.
Oh, she was, I mean, on the spectrum, she had to have been pretty.
Paige literally listed... What was it on this? Oh, saying on the spectrum was a past example of things that are.
Oh, this has got to stop.
Yeah,
No, there's no way it's head.
Okay, I'm
This has
gonna
got to
gotta
stop.
stop.
People on the spectrum,
No,
they
no,
have
just-
got
no,
to
I think-
stop.
Look me in the eye right now.
I think it was people throwing it out like.
Oh yes, this got to stop people being like my mom goes. My stepdad's on the spectrum.
Inaccurately
Late on
using
payments.
inaccurately using the term on the
spectrum.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
That's a
It
good.
came up within 5 minutes.
I would not say that she was on the spectrum. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Maybe in the spectrum, she's extremely low because she was a normal person. But like, eventually, I would notice that she couldn't look at me in the eye. I'm doing it a little bit more. My impression is not as good. My
Sure, I
impression,
understand.
my
I
impression is
understand.
more spectrumy than than that. But have you ever met somebody like that who they really can't
Not so.
find your eyes?
I mean, not really.
No.
Okay,
No?
Maybe
we'll make
that-
strong eye contact.
Well, maybe people that I think perhaps somebody that was like a tick of theirs that they couldn't. make eye contact.
Sure.
I guess.
Yeah. She said she only does it when like she really likes a person. Like she like.
Oh, she said that too.
Yeah, she was like, yeah, I don't like to unless I really like a person.
Oh, so they struggle with the intimacy of it.
I guess.
I remember when I did dance. We did like formal dance classes when I was 5th grade.
Formal dance
Yeah, it
classes?
was called Mrs. Simpson's, and you go to this dance thing. You put on a suit. It was very gendered, very strict about.
Sure.
Yeah, this is where I started going. I don't like this system.
Yeah.
And so the guys were on one side, and the women were on one side, and the guy picked the first dance. So it was this horrible thing where the guys would stampede like wild animals.
Oh, God.
And there would be the same 8 or 9 girls left every time.
Oh.
One with the big facial braces, one with the early acne, one who was 8 feet tall.
Sure.
And I wasn't a very fast runner, so I got to know these gals pretty well. And we would have to dance, like box step.
Yes.
And I always the girl she was my girlfriend for a couple months. We hugged once. And it was so hard to make eye contact because you dance. It's like, how long do you stare into someone's eyes?
yeah.
It felt, and I just remember that feeling of like wanting to look, but then this constant just like.
Well, it's
And it
very
was-
close.
Oh, it was
when
very
you're
close.
dancing.
Oh my God.
I know.
Actually, that's one of the unfortunate things in human, like recent times. We don't learn to dance with other people.
Sure.
Like my parents, if they always go to weddings, they could all just grab somebody and just dance with
dance.
somebody else. And
Yeah.
none of us can do that.
Yeah.
Could you just grab somebody at a wedding and just start cranking out a jive?
Yes.
You could.
Yes.
can?
Yeah. I learned
Yeah.
that.
See, that's
I learned
great.
that. I
But
learned
can
that.
Joanne? Can your wife?
Absolutely.
What are you doing? What kind of dance?
I think it's the foxtrot. Where
The
there's like a-
foxtrot's the one with the feet. No?
Yeah. And like you're stepping and you're spinning each other, and like I can also do a variation.
Sorry, the one with the feet.
They're all the one with the feet.
No, the one with like I was trying to do it with my fingers. You kind of prance a bit. No?
Yeah, there is a little bit of prancing
Oh
going
no,
on.
that's the something step actually. Is it the quick step? That's the
I
quick
don't know.
step.
I don't know all the
I'm
names.
thinking the quick step.
You're thinking
You're
of the
doing-
quick step. I could do
1, 2, cha cha cha.
we could
But that's cha cha cha. That's
There's
its
that.
own
It's just a
dance.
little corny. Cha cha cha. That's not who I am.
I really want to learn like the bachata. I think that I'm gonna
Yeah.
do. I'm thinking my
What
wife.
is that?
My
A
wife and I
Dominican
already-
woman told me that it's basically if you can walk, you can bachata.
Yeah. But it's really a great dance, and it's very. It'd be nice to do it with my
I
wife.
can walk, and I certainly don't know how to bachata.
You can dance. He takes dance class.
I mean, it's been a while.
Has it?
But Tova,
that was
for Tova to not lead. I mean, that's a battle. I honestly think we sooner would me learn how to. What's the opposite of lead? Take. Bottom.
To be led.
I think sooner. Yeah,
Bottom?
I would
That's what it
sooner be
is,
the
it's
bottom to Tova than I think she
Really?
would. It's just always. She just can't. She just can't let
can't
go
relinquish
of the control.
control?
Yeah, it only exists within dance. It doesn't extend to any other part of our lives. So yeah, what about
If you could talk, you could sing. If you could walk, you could dance. That's what Talib Kweli said at the beginning of one of his great hip hop songs.
Hell yeah.
He
didn't
said
come
it
up
was
with
an
that,
African
though.
proverb.
Oh sure.
Yeah. Did
Sure.
you learn to dance in what? How old were you when you went to the Irish school?
I was 14,
14. So that's like
but I really learned to dance on the Irish version of Dancing with the Stars.
stop
Where
it.
coincidentally enough, I did do a cha cha cha.
You were on that show?
The Irish version, yeah.
Holy cow! Was it
But
fun?
not I. The problem is if you say I was on Irish Dancing with the Stars, people think
Yeah,
you
you're
were doing a
you're
jig.
Irish stepping. You're
Yeah,
Irish
yeah,
stepping.
yeah.
No.
But
Sure.
no, I was on the American sort of, the Irish version of the British show, Strictly Come Dancing, which is only allowed to be called Strictly Come Dancing in the UK, and in the rest of the world, it's Dancing with the Stars.
What is it
Even though
called
is
in the
same-
UK?
Strictly Come Dancing.
I love how
Strictly Come Dancing?
That's what it's called.
and you know what I love? I love that they're really strict about that name. Like it's the best fucking
Yeah.
name for a fucking show.
But
Don't
it's the
call
OG.
it.
Everything else they're buying.
Strictly Come Dancing is one of the worst titles I've ever heard in my life.
That's what it's called.
Better to call it Dance
Am
Boy.
I getting the name wrong? Are you googling that?
Dance Boy?
No, I think you're right. But I think that's so funny.
Most people just call it Strictly.
Strictly
No,
Come.
you're right. That's the name.
Strictly Come Dancing.
Yeah, because I
For
think it must have
24
come off of the
seasons.
Strictly Ballroom. Was a
Oh, okay. Strictly Come
Oh.
Dancing.
so
Huh.
I think
It's a
I think,
terrible
I think it
name.
might have been an evolution from Strictly Ballroom, but I don't.
COME.
Yeah, of course.
Strictly Come Dancing.
Yeah.
Strictly
The floor is
Come
covered in
Dancing.
cum. Don't slip.
Strictly Come
Okay,
Dancing.
so let me just say, of all the shows that my dreams, they've lessened, they've
They have?
softened. Yeah, I'm
You're young. How old are you?
I'm 36.
Your dreams can't be.
People, you know how many people message me? They go, gray in beard, gray in beard. They
Well,
comment on having gray in my beard, and I go, Jesus Christ,
I have a joke about that.
what is it?
What is it?
That for some reason going gray is like some open season where people are allowed to comment without fear of offense.
Tell me more about this, because it's
Well,
true.
my joke is that I say, you meet somebody you haven't seen in 20 years and they're like, oh, you're going gray, bro. And I was like, well, you were always fat, but I never mentioned it.
Sure.
I thought it, but I stopped myself. You know, and because you probably saw yourself this morning, you knew you were fat. Well, guess what? I fucking knew this morning that I was gray.
Sure.
I didn't need you to fucking point it out.
Yeah, right.
But that's just my joke. But the truth is that there is a kind of a lack of. I think most people assume that you're okay with being gray.
Yeah, silver
Whereas
fox.
in actual fact, what they're saying is there are obvious signs of aging on your face.
Yeah,
You're gonna die.
someone specifically commented, gray in beard, ew.
Yeah. But also, because the other joke that I make, which is not important, but I think it's a good debate point, which is that like other signs of aging are not open season. Like nobody goes like, oh, crow's feet.
Yeah, wrinkles.
Yeah, easy on the smiling.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like
Yeah, I think people comment about women's looks to a
100%.
degree.
100%.
That's a good point.
I always remind myself. I try to remind myself that it's not. I don't like it.
No,
but that it's way better.
No, but the thing is that people do comment on women's looks, but they don't like. There are certain things that people just don't go up to somebody else and say behind their back. But most people don't even say. Don't ask a woman her age. You know.
Sure.
So like, but for some reason, gray is just one of those things.
Yeah.
We got to move past the age thing, though.
What do you mean?
I hate that. I hate
that's
that.
what,
Like not.
That's what
asking
everybody says
people's
as they get
age.
older. Oh, that I agree.
It's
silly.
Yeah. There's sometimes like with crowd work, it'll be like it makes sense to ask. I'm not just asking like to make fun of them for being old, but it's like so I know how it's how do we grow up
context.
in the same time period?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a like, well, and I'm like, shut up.
I mean, I can understand why women in our industry don't want people to know their age because there's definitely more ageism for women.
There
than
was
there
a
is for
SAG
men.
actor. There was someone who sued IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, saying that they started listing the year that they were born. And this woman was saying, like, you have cost me work because people didn't realize I was in my 50s. And so they were suing to have it removed.
What was the picture?
No, I don't. I think she looked good. It was the year. They put the year on
Yeah.
her.
Yes.
And it's one of those things with all acting things. It's so hard because you go, well, was it that though that you weren't working?
Totally.
But
It's hard.
It
But
could
there is
be.
definitely ageism, though. Particularly with
100%.
women.
Ageism.
Look how
100%.
many. But maybe it's changed in recent times. But think about all the men's careers that held up versus
yeah.
the women's careers that held up. Now, obviously,
Sure.
they don't all hold up, but I guarantee you the percentage is more for men than it is for women.
Totally. Has to be.
For sure.
Of like, let's say, on a scale of 1 to 10, like moderately successful actors from 6 to 10. How many of them held on?
But in our defense, I think men, we have kept the bar low throughout. Like, I think we never do. But they always say, like, well, men, they don't have to put on a lot of makeup. You can just go. And I'm like, yeah, that's because none of us do it. So no one's used to. We could.
Yes.
If we started bringing
Well, there's
out
more
our
of that
features
now,
a little
I
more,
feel.
we could make it fucking stressful.
Yeah,
But we
yeah.
kept the bar low.
That's going to be the new outing that people do, which is male comics that are Botoxing. But that doesn't fit their...
Well, all these guys are doing the chin
it doesn't
surgery.
fit their
Yeah.
image. Oh, I've noticed a few chins. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't.
It's
You're talking
wild.
about a chin plant.
Oh yeah, these
Yeah.
and some and not
Or
not
like
just
this,
the vein
this,
ones.
Or this one. this. It like seems like they're like putting it.
It's angular.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think that's part of it. I think that's the implant.
Yeah.
I think.
I
It's
can't.
wild.
It's just such
I'm
a
pretty
big
sure
change.
it just goes like.
Yeah. Really?
I think so. Yeah.
Wow.
It's an implant and then a dermal filler. That's what
Oh,
they
so
do.
they're
It's like
also doing dermal
it's like
filler.
a combination of both.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Would
gonna
you-
do it.
would you-
But
Not
the
that I've
dermal
looked it
filler
up. Would you
doesn't
ever?
last.
No, they have to do it once every like 6 months or so.
Yes.
my family has a history of like this thing.
Double chin
Yeah, and it gets and
is
it,
the
like,
non-medical term.
Yeah, yeah, and like I can see myself getting that tucked up. You know,
Yeah,
I can see myself doing that. If I
Now,
had,
would that be a lipo situation or would that be?
I have no idea, but I could just see myself. Like I could see where my dad is and all that stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I think I want to.
He didn't do anything.
No, he didn't do anything. I think I'd like to do
I
something
wonder if
about
my
that.
dad got a facelift. He always talked about it. He's someone
My
who would
dad
like.
never did, but he definitely talked about it.
No.
And he had jealousy of Bob Barker because he looked so young at such an advanced age. But my father was very vain,
Okay.
Sure, but he was a good-looking guy.
exceptionally good looking, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Better. Do you feel like better looking than you?
Oh, he is 100%.
We have this in common.
Google Mike Bishop, Des Bishop's dad, because there's a couple of pictures on there.
Because my father's better looking than me, especially in his youth, and that's how did it? Did you feel
I'm
that as a
fine with
kid?
it. No, because it was cool that my dad was like the suave.
Was good
dude.
looking.
Was he
Yeah.
single or married the whole time?
Married the whole time.
The whole time. Okay,
We're
so you
very
didn't have-
traditional
you didn't have to
Catholic
deal with
family.
it. I had to deal with.
Not
No,
as
I
cool.
didn't have to deal with my dad banging like fucking hot 25-year-old.
Yeah,
Yeah. You're lucky.
The picture that I want you to find, it might be hard to find, but
Ooh, yeah.
no, those are when he's older.
still,
it's the
very-
model pic. If you keep going up, I think I might be able to find it, but if you
Search
keep going down,
add nudes.
because I wrote a book about him. So
Mike
there
Bishop
it is,
nudes.
the fourth one from the top. Click that.
Wow.
Come on.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You wrote a book about him.
well, yeah,
He
because
was almost James Bond.
Oh, that's right.
He had an
that's
audition
right.
for James
yeah,
Bond.
He
almost
had an audition for James
very
Bond.
low
Wait,
level.
is that
He's
how
not-
is that how low we're talking? I thought it was like down to the two of them. They were
No.
screen
and
testing.
that's the way kind of like the legend within our family
Sure has
it
grown.
was between my dad and George Lazenby, but that's not true. The truth, the actual 100% truth, because as I got older, I didn't really believe it, but I mean, my dad had like a real acting career.
But
so,
he
like,
as a kid, did he tell you like, son, it was me?
no, he wasn't actually part of the legend. The legend grew in our house because Ira, our Jewish uncle through marriage, he was a great guy.
Don't love how you said it.
He was a great guy.
Yikes.
No, because the joke with us is like, how did an Irish American Republican as in Irish Republican family
Yes.
end up with a guy in our family named IRA?
Yeah,
but
yeah,
anyway,
yeah. Oh, that's funny. That's
so
funny.
it's like he's Jewish. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
IRA.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, because there's not a lot of Jewish Iras.
Sure,
sorry,
sure.
Irish
Irish
Iras is what I
yeah,
meant.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
So anyway, he was a character, man, and he was over our house for all the holidays, and he loved the story of my dad having a look into James Bond. So he was the one that anytime somebody new came over, like a new person into our holiday crew, he would always tell the story that it was down to my dad and George. But it was not true. My dad didn't.
Sure.
My dad was never pushy of that.
What would that be if you have a kid?
Mm-hmm.
What's the thing that it was like that you had an audition for, but it could be
Wow.
like you almost. I'm trying to think like what was my closest.
Your closest call.
I couldn't even get the audition for it.
Yeah. I think the closest thing I was called in a million times for Waitress.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to be on the Broadway production of Waitress. So far, I think that's the closest
Yeah,
thing.
mine,
But that's not really
mine would have been like
that's not
I
great.
was almost the guy in that Honda commercial once.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I could have made a lot of money.
So anyway, I've had a couple of small parts in movies over the years, which is quite funny because that was our joke with my dad, because my dad had this the whole I did a whole show and everything about him, and that became the book, which was basically that he gave all that up for us. So I was raised in Flushing, Queens, very normal semi-suburban New York City life.
So tell me about your dad's acting career. It was in America?
No, my dad was raised in Ireland, but his life was more in the UK from adolescence on.
And what kind of roles was he playing? Was he like a leading man drama?
No, so he was a model. So actually, my dad was like a gymnast, like a physical fitness guy. That was his
wow.
career, and then he broke his back on a trampoline.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Do you know what move? What was he
No,
doing?
I don't. I
Broke
just-
his back.
Yeah, and 3 spinal fusions, and basically like
God.
at some, he's this ripped, good-looking dude, and somebody he knew at some stage was like, oh, this modeling, male modeling is becoming a thing,
And he could retain his figure even after this transfusion of spine.
Yeah, he was just a naturally skinny dude.
Yeah.
And so he got into modeling in London when it was like really like an industry that was blowing up. And he was a very successful model.
Wow.
But we wanted to be more of an actor. But he was actually in the same agency as George Lazenby. But he was in a play of Sive, which is John B. Keane. I don't know how familiar you are with the Irish playwrights. But John B. Keane's Sive. He also wrote The Field, which was an Oscar-nominated film.
Sure.
Anyway, my dad was in that, which was like an Irish repertory theater production. It wasn't like a West End, but I think it was in the West End, but it wasn't like a West End production.
Sure.
But anyway, my dad always told the story that they saw him there, but I didn't believe it. And after he died, a guy that wrote the article that all this James Bond shit was based on, which was for an Irish newspaper in London called the Irish Post, he had wrote a story, The Irishman Who Was Nearly James Bond, back in like the late 60s, early 70s, whenever that time was.
Sure.
The guy that wrote the article was still alive, and he reached out to me and sent a handwritten letter to the theater that I was running the show. My dad was near James Bond in London, the Soho Theater. And he said, I'd love to meet you because I wrote the article about your dad. I was in the play with him in the West End.
I see.
And I remember the night the Broccolis came in to look at your dad.
Wow.
So then I finally got it verified that it wasn't just like
a
Chinese whisper that had grown into this greater thing,
Sure.
So anyway, so it was
just a quick note. So Chinese whisper.
Yeah, I don't buy that it's racist.
Okay, good.
What is it?
I just want to get ahead of it because I just heard Chinese whisper and it's a horrible thing. I'm just like I see the comments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell me tell me first, what is the phrase the Chinese whisper?
It's telephone.
It's telephone.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So it's basically like one thing goes through many mouths
Can get
and
distorted.
slowly becomes something else.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
yeah.
And where did it become Chinese?
I don't know. It might be just Irish.
By the end, you can't understand. You're like, are you speaking Chinese to me?
I have no idea of the etymology, but I did see in recent times that people tried to suggest actually saying Chinese whisper is offensive.
Okay.
And I think as a Mandarin speaker, you get
I
a
can
little
tell you
more...
right now that you didn't ever hear anyone complaining about that in China.
Well, sure, because there they just call it a whisper.
Well, no, it's just like I don't know what the problem is that sometimes they say, "Oh, this is offensive," which I don't actually think it is. I think there was just a period of time where everybody wanted to find the historical offense in a thing. However, a lot of times it was historical inaccuracies based on why it was offensive, right? Like the master bedroom didn't hold up either.
Sure.
But
Okay.
anyway,
I feel like it depends on the phrase. Can we put this in quotes? Indian giver. As a phrase, it was a negative attribute. It wasn't like just a phrase. It was you give things and then take them back, like the person describing it.
yeah.
So
So
in
what
a
would
way,
you say for what is in Ireland, anyways? Just you say Chinese whispers. It's like it slowly gets distorted. What would you use?
A tall tale.
No, because this is very specific in terms of like it's a true story that got changed over time.
That's the thing about a tall tale. It grows taller with every
right.
passing year.
I would call it a Jewish conspiracy. So because I was reading your the book Paige wrote about you. I didn't know. I had thought you were born in Ireland, but your father was born in Ireland.
No, my dad was born in Sussex in England and raised in Ireland.
Raised in Ireland.
Yes, evacuated from World War II.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Wow.
And raised in Ireland. And then went back to the UK in his adolescence. But never, always wanted to be considered Irish. Had a little bit of he definitely preferred his Irish identity to his British identity.
Sure. As same way my dad
and I was
preferred
born
his...
in London.
You were born in London.
Just to confuse it even further.
Yeah, wow.
Because back then, if you were pregnant after a certain time, you couldn't travel. So they waited to have me. And then they came back because my parents were living in London. My dad was still actively working as a model and an actor when I was born.
Yeah.
And they returned. I was born in November, and they were back in Queens before Christmas of 1975.
Did he say when you were a kid does he go, "You're Irish, we're Irish"?
We're Irish. We were Irish.
Yeah.
But he was born in the UK.
Yes.
But you're
But I
Irish.
mean,
Sure.
where you're born is kind of irrelevant, really. Obviously, if you're getting into citizenship arguments,
Sure,
I
sure.
can understand.
Officer, where you born is irrelevant. In here.
No, but it's 100% true.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's great Irish people that were born outside of Ireland. You know, you have no say on where you were born. I happen to be born in London. Do I feel British in any way? No.
Sure.
Not one bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
And your mom? What about your mom?
my mom's born in America of Irish parents.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So when you were a kid, though, you were here in Flushing, Queens.
Grew up in Flushing. Yeah.
Flushing.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you're 14, is that right? You are failing out of school. You're
I
struggling.
flunked out of St. Francis Prep.
How bad are we talking? Were you weren't going to class? You just
I
weren't
just
paying
was
attention.
disinterested. You want to know the truth? I was actually being bullied quite badly. But
How?
Nobody talked about bullying.
Oh, yeah.
I actually fell afoul of two different groups. My initial kind of crew that I knew before going to school, and then also like a crew of Italians in St. Francis Prep, but for two different reasons. But I just ended up, it was just kind of unlucky. So I got kind of like excluded from my OG group, but then I also had this kind of like, sort of like threatening group also in St. Francis Prep.
Do you think it was were you bullied by the kids that got molested, and that's kind of the brutal chain of the Catholic Church?
I don't know. I'm not implicating St. Francis Prep in any of the things that I mentioned.
How did they bully you though? I was so not bullied. Like
I was getting threatened.
What would they say?
Well, I'll give you one example is St. Francis Prep are playing Holy Cross, which is a big basketball game.
Sure.
It's a freshman JV varsity game. The 3 games, one after the other. And this is the big rivalry, so it's quite busy there. And I had friends from both. But, I everyone goes to those 2 schools from my neighborhood. So, but the crew of guys that were bullying me, they had a sizable enough group of people that you would be afraid, including some of the members of that group. Mm-hmm. From Howard Beach, they were feared officially.
Yeah.
When I see a group of teenagers, I'm still a little bit afraid. Like if there's like a bunch of them.
This group were feared, and so this kid, the source of the reason why I was being bullied, said to me that if you don't leave now, like we as a group are gonna beat the shit out of you.
And forgive me, you said, are these Italians?
These are Italians.
These are Italians.
Yeah.
And do they have like a feeling of like their fathers are mob?
They're from Howard Beach.
Okay.
And they're Italians in the late 1980s, early 1990s.
We're talking Danny Zuko here.
Okay.
We're talking Danny Zuko.
So
Okay.
I'm freaked out. Okay?
Yeah.
So there was some kids actually from Holy Cross that I knew, who's one of them is still a friend of mine. He became a cop. But anyway, he had a crew there. And I was like, yo, I'm getting threatened like by this gang. Do you have my back if I don't leave? And they were like, we don't want to fuck with those guineas from Howard Beach. So
Yeah.
I think it's better that you leave.
Sure.
And he wasn't like not backing me up. He was just probably being wise, actually.
And
but-
sorry, leave that school?
No, leave the game.
Yeah,
leave the game.
So
yeah,
they
yeah.
basically
Get out of here.
because they wanted to humiliate me. So they wanted to watch me walk out.
And is it because you were a good-looking, charming guy?
Well, in hindsight,
Dad's a model.
years later,
Yeah.
I discovered that my girlfriend of the time, the guy that was the cause of all this, was obsessed with her.
Oh, well, yeah, there it is.
But you don't know that at the time.
Yeah.
you know? So anyway, long story short, I kind of checked out a little bit from school. I just had a lot of stress. Now, I'm not going to take away all responsibility from myself. I was quite fond of the booze, and I was fond of like doing graffiti, and I was definitely a kid that was prone to like distractions outside of where I should be focused.
At 14, so you're drinking at 14.
I was drinking at 12.
At 12.
Hell yeah.
And
dude.
that's, let me just say, 12. I mean, God, what was I, 15 maybe I started once in a while. But you were, how easy was it to get alcohol back then?
So the thing was, I was not unlucky, but in our neighborhood, like not even school friends, I'm talking about like the people on our block. And I was very lucky to grow up in like literally the most feral, like not poor neighborhood. But
Yeah.
like we were raised feral, and
Yeah,
there
yeah,
was a lot of us, like
Yeah.
in the dozens of kids that were always around. Now I know in the dozens doesn't sound like a lot,
lot
but
of
in a
kids.
1 block radius of
Sure.
kids of a similar age, we were always out, and there was tons of us. But you know the way groups get paired off in like age groups. I happened to be the youngest of our gang, but the oldest guy was 17. you know. But we were just.
And you're 12?
Well, I aged up. I was funny, and I, you know.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I was
sure.
like the last guy allowed in that crew.
Yeah.
You know what
Wow.
I mean? And like when I say 17 to 12, I mean these are guys I'm playing basketball with, playing wiffle ball with. You know, we're not doing anything crazy, but obviously when the
drinking.
17, well, no, but
And
when the
drinking.
17 and the 16-year-olds,
Yeah.
start drinking, that's a normal age for them to start drinking.
I see.
But I'm still part of the crew. I'm part of the. They've allowed me to be
Yeah.
hanging out at night.
Yeah.
They've allowed me because we used to play Ring-a-Lario, which is like this.
What's that?
This I looked it up. It's like a unique like New York City game. Which is
Ring-a-Lario.
basically like Manhunt. It's basically like
I love
hide and
Manhunt.
seek for when you get older.
Yeah.
What does that mean? When
Well, you know the
find
way
them,
hide and seek was like a small area. Like Ring-a-Lario was like you could really go anywhere. But also with Ring-a-Lario, when you got caught, you got imprisoned, and then somebody who hadn't been caught was allowed to spring you.
Yes.
But to be caught,
This sounds like Manhunt. This is
yeah.
like
But
the
when
rules
you get,
of Manhunt.
when
that
you
I
get
did.
caught though, you couldn't just somebody say I got you. They had to hold you and say Ring-a-Lario, 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 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. And if they got to the end of that and you were still in their possession, then you were officially caught.
Okay.
But
And then you go to a prison.
Different amounts of Ring-a-Lario that depend on what neighborhood you were from.
This sounds fun. I'd like to play this as an adult.
Yeah.
But you
And the prison number, a lot of time the prison was actually we had like a
stoop
not even
or
like a
whatever.
backyard. Yeah, like my
Yeah.
stoop was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
So
prison.
it's fun. The prison's fun. That's where you can go
Everything
start
about
drinking.
the game was fun. There's
Totally.
nothing problematic about this game.
Yeah.
It was fucking awesome.
Why did we stop this game? This
We're gonna
sounds
find out that
amazing.
Ring-a-Lario. We're gonna find out that Ring-a-Lario
I'll tell
is
you
a
why-
very problematic
I'll
word.
tell you why it stops is because the oldest guy, who was the oldest guy, the older you get, the better you get at hiding, and it stopped being fun because we couldn't find this motherfucker because he was so
Yeah.
fucking old and wise.
Yeah.
He just knew.
And then it's not fun. Then you're just
no, then
hiding
it's like
somewhere.
well, now none of us are gonna get sprung because fucking he's gonna be missing for the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Jesselnick, one of his early jokes was like about someone was playing hide and seek. This little girl hid in a fridge and suffocated to death. And it's like, who's complaining she got to die a winner? I'm trying to think of that. So you played a game called Manhunt?
I played a game
the
called
same
Manhunt.
game.
Yeah. This is
There's
in
just
Long
no
Island.
Ring-a-Lario.
This is Long Island in the 90s, and we're running around, and if you catch somebody, you now the whole group is looking for so a bunch of people hide, and once you catch them, now 2 people are looking for everybody
Oh,
else.
right. Yeah, that's a variation.
And then,
Which is a good. That's
yeah.
kind of like certain types of tag or that
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
And
yeah,
eventually
yeah.
there's only one person.
Manhunt? I thought that was just
That
how
was-
Manhunt works. Right?
Yeah,
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 no,
it was
that's Manhunt.
That was
Yeah,
This is
he's doing
Manhunt.
Ring-a-Lario.
Manhunt.
Yeah, that was Manhunt.
We need these games as an adult. I think we need them for community.
Well, we have like escape rooms.
Like a huge
I know,
game.
but the problem. Escape room is too small. Like I remember my school. We did. I think it was called Assassin, and it was about you had to get highlighter as like you had to mark them.
Yes.
And it was like you would do it between classes. It was like one day.
it would be like a huge thing in your whole school.
And and it was
That sounds
so
fun.
much fun. And you'd end class, and you weren't paying attention. You didn't learn anything that day, and you would be running around. And I think I won. But like the kid I was against, he had like by the last round he had goggles and a hat because you had to get it on the skin.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun.
Yeah, that's
and
fun.
you interacted. Escape rooms, you have to go with people you know. And
We went on an escape room, and it was one of the worst things we've ever done. Remember the escape room where
for my birthday?
where we came out, we were like doing the thing, and we did it, and we came to the end, and she came and she went, "You won."
No. We got to the final part. This was a haunted house escape room, and it was like kind of creepy and scary.
Yeah.
And we get to the final thing. We open the final lock, and there's a final box. We open it, and the box is empty. And we're like, that really feels like it should have been something in there.
there should have been
And then
something
she
in there.
opens the door, no costume at all.
Yeah, she goes, "You
She
won."
goes, I forgot the key.
I forgot the key. Yeah.
You won.
You won. Good job. I forgot the key though.
Yeah,
I
happy
forgot to put it in
birthday.
there.
Who was it?
The
It
problem
was
is that she's
brutal.
representing too much of the reality of how fucking pointless this all is.
Yeah.
Of course.
You know? You need to pretend at least.
I like this game, Ring-a-Lario.
Ring-a-Lario. But
Ring-a-Lario.
did you look it up? What came up? Because I'm curious because I looked it up once before.
That
but
sounds
I forget-
Italian.
I
It's
forgot
a
what
children's game originated in New York City, and it's a variation of tag, and it has a cult following. That is
Oh.
what. That is
Right,
what.
I always knew I was in a
Also,
cult.
It's spelled Leveo, Levio, but I think
right.
you're probably right because I feel
Well,
like I've
we
heard
all
that
say
before.
Ring-a-Lario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a very long answer to how I ended up the youngest guy in the gang.
Drinking at 12.
Drinking at 12.
Yeah.
Drinking at 12.
So-
What was your drink of choice? It was whatever.
Whatever you
It was
could
whatever.
get.
Yeah.
Whatever
yeah.
you could get.
just
And
because
by the way, I'm still friends with all of them. In fact, I'm going to like a little reunion kind of get together next Sunday of Memorial Day.
play
weekend.
Ringalario.
We're gonna play Ringalario.
You'll have so
we
much
can't.
fun.
We've all fucking got knee pain and back problems.
It'll be the easiest
most
game
of them
ever.
most of them have had normal relationships, so most of them are bringing their kids who are like 12, 13, 14, 15.
Well, the kids can hang out with your wife.
She's nearly 34. But anyway, I don't want to bring her because she'll have to listen to all our boring reminiscence.
No, Hannah feels. I feel like Hannah's like knows how to talk to people, literally.
No, I know, but you know the way like you just want to just.
Hannah, do you know his wife?
yeah,
When you see people you haven't seen in a long time, you just want to indulge in the nostalgia.
Sure.
You don't have to explain every fucking stupid nostalgic story to somebody who wasn't there.
The problem is when
yeah.
I'm hanging out with my old like I have friends from high school and middle school, it's about like women. It's like, oh my God, did you see so and so? Like it's a very like straight dude talk. It's like, oh, you remember so and so? Oh my God.
Yeah.
You see that? Those tits. Since you said Guinea, which is an Italian, what does it mean again?
Well, it's actually quite a derogatory term.
Yeah.
But
I know, I'm aware.
I
My name's
use it-
DeMarco.
I use it in the context of that time where they called us Micks and we called them Guineas.
So Mick, what is Mick? Am I allowed to say this?
Listen, man, for me, I actually have a joke in my current show that I just recorded about it because like I understand how Guinea is offensive. I know that Guinea is offensive.
What does it mean?
But I think I actually looked up the history. The history is awful on where the word comes
Wap,
from.
really?
Wap Guinea Dago is like the full slur.
That's the full spectrum. Oh,
And-
well, no, those are three different slurs.
There's three different slurs.
Yeah.
Yes.
But like my dad would call the rib tea, the wife beater, a Dago tea, which is like a slur. But you know, we.
But the reason why I
took
used it in
back.
that context was like that was the vibe of the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But was it fun? Like if you saw another
All
Italian,
my best friends are Italian.
if you called him a guinea back then, though, was it like time to fight?
No.
No.
It was
fun.
in jest and fun.
Yeah.
and,
But there was
you
a
know,
time. There must have been echoes from. Like I heard the term
from when
green card came from the green paddy wagon. They would put the Irish people in
God,
if they
the paddy
were
wagon
illegal.
has more tales associated with it. I don't know which is true and which isn't.
Wow.
Because, you know, they say that the paddy wagon's called the paddy wagon because it was originally for rounding up drunken Irish people.
I see.
But I don't know if that etymology is
interesting.
correct or if that's like a fake etymology that leans into the stereotype. What do you got?
For Guinea?
Yeah, it's quite negative.
Yeah, it's all negative. Honestly, the internet doesn't really want to talk about it. It looks like
Google's like, do not. Are you an
it
Italian?
says,
Then
and
do
it's
not.
a person of Italian descent, and then it kind of leaves it there.
Pejorative. Yeah.
I mean, it was basically it's all from a time where the Italians were the lowest rung of the.
And Irish
ladder.
was above.
Yeah, because the Italians came later.
Yeah.
So the Irish were once the
exactly.
like the
Yeah,
rats
yeah.
of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
city.
yeah.
Then the Irish were here. The Italians came. They were the next crowd.
Yeah.
And so there's if you really want to get into it, there's all these articles about when different groups became white. Right. And a lot of social historians like to delve into that, like when you become like part of the establishment. And how certain groups were never, afforded that right.
Did your dad ever did they talk about? Did your dad ever go like Irish were still discriminated against? Son, we're still like. Did they carry any of that? Like we're actually still mistreated in this country. My dad sometimes, and it really is like. He'll talk about just very lightly about Italian American discrimination, and like he doesn't mean it. He heard it from someone way back in the day and still thinks it's a thing. Was there any ever echo
No,
of like
for us, no.
No.
But my dad, because we were raised very aware of the Troubles and Irish Americans in general, I don't know if you know this, but they were very supportive of the struggle for a united Ireland.
Yes.
Which actually, when I moved to Ireland, in the south of Ireland, people frowned upon what they sort of considered to be a sort of a rose-tinted view of the struggles. But Americans were just naturally very supportive of the IRA and everything. Mm-hmm. And my parents definitely were also. So my dad was very aware that there was still actual real discrimination against Irish people in England, because during the Troubles there was a lot of essentially the Irish in the 70s and 80s in the UK were experiencing what Arabs experienced later on, like in real Islamophobia. There was real anti-Irish sentiment in the UK. So I was aware of it from the point of view of the Irish are discriminated against in the UK when we were growing up. which
Yes.
was real.
Yeah.
But it was never a case of we are.
Sure. I
Because don't
understand.
forget, we had John F. Kennedy was the president, and the Kennedys were like the American royal family. There was
Yeah.
no sense of Irish Americans being discriminated against in our house.
But there was like wasn't there a big pushback before Kennedy got elected that like, oh,
Well, that's
a
'cause he was
Catholic,
Catholic.
a Catholic
Yes.
president. Whoa.
Yeah.
And we were also
He
accused-
might do what the Pope tells him to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we weren't really too aware of Catholic discrimination, but we were aware that in the past, Catholics were discriminated against in America, and we were also aware that the religious divide was an essential ingredient to the troubles in the North. So I was also very aware of Catholic and Protestant.
Forgive me because I don't know a lot about the Troubles. I don't know how educated you are.
I mean, we're
on
going
this.
through so many things here. It's hard to stay on one topic.
That's perfect. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
Can you give me the quickest, dumbest
Oh God.
synopsis of all of Irish suffering?
The struggles.
No, of the Troubles. Of the Troubles.
Okay, so it's the 1200s.
Oh my God.
And an Irish chieftain called Dermot McMurrough had lost and needed support. So he stupidly invited the Norman King Richard II to help him to regain his power in the province of Leinster. And that was the beginning of British rule in Ireland. But anyway, no, I'm kidding. But that's
But
actually...
was that true? 'Cause I just memorized all
yeah,
that.
That was really history, yeah. No, that was the beginning of the Norman conquest of Ireland, which when you hear Irish people say 800 years of oppression, they are talking about the Norman conquest of Ireland. However, it's not really historically accurate to include 800 years of oppression because the Normans, despite the fact that they did, take over large parts of Ireland, they did also kind of assimilate. And a lot of the names that we know of today as Irish names, like Butler, and Butler's the first one that comes to my mind. Even my first name, Desmond, like these names actually had something to do with the Norman conquest of Ireland. So they're considered more part of Irishness. The real problem starts with the Tudors, and they never assimilated. They planted, so they basically they took land from basically people that wouldn't say they were loyal to them, who were mostly Catholic.
Yeah.
Because that has to do with the King Henry VIII creates the Church of England. And
Yes.
And then there's like a schism, and the Jacobites, and all that stuff is so complicated that
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
even.
Jacobites.
I can't even.
King Henry's the one though who got divorced though, and
Yeah,
that
he just
started,
wanted to fucking marry somebody else, so he
which is
created a new
incredible.
religion.
Yeah. It's
Whenever
like,
people go, I make everything about divorce. I'm like, it's about everything.
But it's easier to understand in the context of like movies like Braveheart and even Game of Thrones, where it's like in the end these are all
Wait, that's real?
yeah, but it's feudal. It's all feudal.
Yeah.
So to help you understand the feudal system,
You could have
basically,
slipped into Game of
people had
Thrones.
to bend the knee. Bending the knee is just a great metaphor for what went down. So the majority of people that wouldn't bend the knee to the Tudors were Catholics, so they were disenfranchised, and then that land was given to people loyal to the crown, who were Church of England, originally Church of England people, right? So quickly, in the south of Ireland, originally, the Catholics became the peasant class, essentially disenfranchised, right? And then over hundreds of years, that peasantry became incredibly poor. The North is just a little bit different. So you're asking me to explain the Troubles. The North is a little bit different because in the province of Ulster, which is the north of Ireland, they were the last Celtic stronghold. So essentially, they were the last place to be subjugated.
Okay.
And Queen Elizabeth, I think, was still in power, but certainly she died soon after. But basically, to subdue this incredibly difficult place to subjugate, she actually, immediately after her death, I feel, they planted a lot of Scottish Presbyterians, people loyal to the crown. And that population of Protestant people loyal to the crown was much greater than any other part of Ireland. So that part of Ireland had the distinct demographics of a Protestant majority. And fast forward to the 20s when there was an Irish Revolutionary War. And the reason why the Republic of Ireland is the Republic of Ireland is because of that war. But part of the Treaty of 1922 was that they would create a boundary commission to create a separate state in the north of Ireland that was still part of the UK.
Yes.
And that's why the North was created, but it was gerrymandered in a way that the Protestant majority was such that they would have absolute power. And then from the 20s until the late 1960s, that was a Protestant state for a Protestant people, that's the term that the Protestant government said. That's not like Catholic propaganda.
Yeah.
It was a sectarian state Catholics were second-class citizens. Coincidentally enough, a lot of people don't know this, inspired by the American civil rights movement, Catholic civil rights marches, grew, and they began to look for equal rights, one man, one vote, the end to gerrymandering so that they could actually have a say in the British government.
Did they not have a vote, or did they have a partial vote?
No, they had a vote, but all the districts were gerrymandered, so they would never get
I see.
elected.
wow,
I see.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which happens here now too, but obviously the first time I heard the term gerrymandering was in relation to the north.
That's
The
fascinating.
north
Yeah,
of
wow.
Ireland. Anyway, the Troubles kicked off when originally the British government plus the Protestant state, because at that time the North had like a devolved form of government, so essentially like a local government, but it was like the Northern Irish government in Stormont, right?
Yeah.
So in collusion, that government plus the British government, originally they were brought in to actually protect the Catholics who were fighting for their civil rights, but very quickly it turned violent.
Sure.
And very quickly, I would argue, the British state plus the Northern Irish state colluded against any sort of push towards Irish independence or even Catholic equality.
Uh-huh.
And by, I think, 1971, the direct rule was created. So the actual local Northern Irish government was gone, and it was direct rule. And essentially the Troubles were 30 years of guerrilla warfare. People call it terrorism, but one man's terrorist, another man's...
Sure, I'm familiar. Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Very familiar.
Yeah.
And it didn't end until 1998.
And that's where the IRA is in
the provisional IRA, yeah.
And is okay.
And then in 2006, I graduated from college. I went to school in Boston. And I graduated from college. And
Which is where all the money comes from.
And I came to New York. And I was really excited to go to this bar, this like a New York like pub. And I walk in, and all my friends are there. And I'm like, hey, can we get 6 car bombs, Irish car bombs?
No, really?
And he goes, that's very racist. That's an extremely racist drink, and we don't make them here. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Can I get 6 half Guinnesses with whiskey and a little bit of Bailey's? And he's like, absolutely. And he just made them. And he made them.
Can I get 6 weapons of a dispossessed people against a state?
I had no idea. No idea. And he was very mad. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I had no idea.
And did he feel like when he said sure, like did he feel like he understood that you didn't know?
Yes, he
forgave
did.
you.
Oh, he totally forgave me.
But it changed. You never said that again.
I never said it again. Yeah, I had no idea.
Wow.
But also, I went in Boston. I mean, we were in pubs asking
I
for
didn't know
them.
that. Yeah.
Irish,
a lot of people don't know when they say, "Can I have a black and?" Have you ever had a black and tan?
Black and tan, yeah.
A black and tan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, what's that?
So the black and tans were actually essentially the British militia that was sent to Ireland in the 1920s. So they were all guys that just come back from World War One.
Yeah.
And the British government was pretty stretched at the time, so they sent them over, but they didn't have official uniforms, so they wore black or tan trench coats, and they were known as the black and tans.
Oh, interesting.
So they were actually the British one facet of the British military force that fought the original IRA. So that's why I said the provisional IRA. That's the IRA from the Troubles. But the original IRA, the IRA from the Irish Revolutionary War, was that IRA, and they fought against the Black and Tans, who used quite brutal tactics.
And was this idea that they drank that drink? What is a
it's
black?
it's a lighter beer with Guinness floated
Guinness
on it.
Flanness on top,
it's
so it's
literally
called a black and tan.
It's tan here, and there's like.
But there's
it's
a
black,
famous
it
rebel
literally
song
floats.
called "Come Out, You Black and Tans."
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Well, come out, you black and tans, come out and fight me like a man.
Oh,
Show
yeah.
your wives how you won medals down in Flanders, and how the IRA made you run like hell away.
So you still feel
from
very
the
connected to this,
green
even
and
though
lovely lanes of Killeshan and Trull. Yeah,
you still feel very connected to this through your dad, or like
through my fucking DNA.
yeah, through your DNA.
Yeah.
No, but don't forget,
Do you feel
I'm
more-
educated there too.
Yeah, that's true. Do you feel more like an Irish person than a Queens person?
I feel both. I actually, my Queensness, I'm feeling more connected to in recent times because I'm here more. And I realized this wasn't a decision that I made, but I realized that, like, despite my weird hybrid identity and the fact that I've lived much more of my life in Ireland,
Yeah.
and Ireland has influenced me much more than my New York life. To Americans, I'm a Queens person. There's nothing I can do about that. And I found, particularly when I was on stage, that it was like, I just have to embrace that part of myself. because that's what I am to these people.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like me selling out. It was actually like creatively liberating, because I was like, oh wow, there's a lot of that part of myself I never explored.
Yeah.
And so much of my Irish self that I explored comedically, which was fucking awesome for all those years in Ireland, just doesn't actually translate that much to here.
In what sense? Tell me what you mean.
Well, one, I'm talking about a lot of shit that people have never experienced.
Sure.
I can never translate the fish out of water experience of an American living in Ireland to Americans. That's very unique. Irish people can't get enough of it. Americans just don't get it.
Is there anything different about like the sense of humor? I'm trying to think of like the Irish comedians
I don't believe
know.
in sense of humor.
Sure. Okay. Then scratch that.
no, but I'll talk about that too. But.
No, but I mean like there's a sensibility for different. I know a couple Irish comedians, and I don't know if I know enough to like make a broad brush.
Yes.
But I feel like they have some teeth on them. There's a edginess, at least by American sensibilities, that I enjoy. There's kind of like I'm thinking of Colin Tyrell specifically, and like Colin like.
But Colum's very Colum though.
Yeah,
and
well,
by the
of
way,
course, if you know three people from
a
place.
Yeah, he's very representative. Like Colum is, a strong, opinionated Irish guy. But I would say, to me, Colum is more an Irishman that came up in America, and like I feel like a lot of his style, he absorbed New York comedic sensibilities, actually.
Sure.
Which is by no means a criticism.
No.
But then add the accent, and then you've got this new thing, right? I mean, that's a real thing. Is like,
but the Cullum,
wouldn't you say that?
Actually,
like,
Cullum is not even analogous to my life in Ireland, because Cullum doesn't lean hard on actually being an Irishman in New York.
Sure,
I leaned heavily on being an American in Ireland.
oh, okay.
But I also had my adolescence in Ireland.
Yeah,
you know what
I
mean? Like I had this life transforming experience of going from a New York adolescence to an Irish adolescence, which is like,
that's interesting.
He went to New York in his adulthood.
Do you feel like when you went to China to do comedy, do you feel like you learned lessons of how to comedically talk about being a fish out of water from being an American in Ireland, or vice versa, and you used that to like...
My most successful Irish tour was called Fitting In. I mean, fitting into cultures has been the essence of my life, not just my work.
But with China, you sought it out. You sought to be in a new place where you would be. Do you think you like that feeling?
That's like the abused can't get away from. You keep going back to the trauma.
Sure,
yeah.
Sure.
It's the downside.
No, but isn't there a part of it like you're literally? I mean, to go to China
yes
is
no.
so different.
Yes, but I think also it was an evolution of the work that I was doing. So. Obviously, we're talking about fish out of water comedy, which was 100% a big part of my comedy. But then, by chance, I happened upon doing a documentary series about living on minimum wage, which was actually an idea that was pitched to me by somebody in Irish television. And they thought I would be good at putting myself in these situations.
Who's better minimum wage, Ireland or here?
Well, this was 2003, so... But I think the Irish minimum wage is better, but I can't speak on it today.
Sure.
At the time, the Irish minimum wage was better.
Okay.
Sure. So it's like a luxury documentary.
Well, did you ever read Barbara Ehrenreich's Nickel and Dimed by any chance?
No.
You're younger than me, but like it was like a big book at a time where like I was really looking for those types of books. So I happened to have read it, which is a book, this journalist, undercover though. She only recently died. Great writer. She went undercover in the States, in America, living on minimum wage to see what it was like to try to live on it. And she did it for real, and she did it for quite a long period of time. But she was a print journalist, so she could do this undercover.
Yeah.
So this Irish television development person came to me and said, I love this book. I've been waiting to find the right person to pitch this to, but I'd love to do a documentary series. The difference is we have to get permission. Mm-hmm. And I want it to be entertaining as well as hard-hitting. I want to see what it's like to live on the bottom rung of the economic ladder in Ireland. So I did 4 different jobs, 1 month each, and I really did it for real. I lived off the money. But I also did stand-up afterwards about the experience.
Sure.
So that was the beginning of man puts himself into difficult situations, does stand-up about it, but it also has like a social context. Because the other great thing about developing as a comedian in Ireland is the main television networks in Ireland are public broadcasting networks who actually have a public broadcasting remit. They actually have to have like a social, like a certain percentage of their programming has to be considered good for society. Right?
Sure. This is not the right administration to go down that path.
No, I know. But
they're trying to pitch that immigration reality show. Do you see that one?
No.
So it's in the Daily Mail, but they said that they pitched to
Who's that?
Citizenship test. Christy Nome.
Oh,
Chris
okay.
and Nome. There's some producer who made Duck Dynasty and some other big reality shows.
Yeah.
It's called like The Immigrant, and they take 10 immigrants who want to come to America, and they have them, do a lot of. This starts at Ellis Island,
So just like
and they do
propaganda.
American tests, but it's like they have to build a Model T. They have to go mining for gold.
What?
And yeah, and then learn about America. And at the end, one of them gets their citizenship, and the government was entertaining. Kristen Nomas was
Yeah,
entertaining.
but we don't know if this is verified.
Yeah.
It's a nice, juicy story.
The
though.
first
yeah.
headline when you Google it is a U.S. migrant reality show would not be like the Hunger Games, producer says.
That's a terrible way to start. That's the start of the pitch. Let me be clear before we
Yeah,
start.
yeah.
This is not the Hunger
Nobody
Games.
dies.
Yeah.
This is even better.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had all these American things. So I was gonna do. This is gonna come out a little after this. So I was supposed to do a show last night on MSNBC, and we were gonna riff about this.
Uh-huh.
And then Biden's cancer diagnosis came out. They canceled the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
But what I was gonna say, let me just get it out now, was they say you have to mine for gold. I mean, that's the how's that American? The only time Trump's ever spent with a miner is on Epstein's Island.
Oh.
Nice.
But Biden had to ruin it.
Join the
Biden
Patreon.
ruined it.
Join the Patreon, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to get so much more
Thank
of
God.
this.
Russell never
You're
plugs
gonna
the
get
Patreon.
So
It's
much
such a
more of
delight.
this. Join the fucking Patreon. Give this man his flowers.
Would you do that show? You said 1 month each job.
Yeah, 4 months altogether.
What were the jobs?
The first one, I was working in a kebab shop called Abracababra.
Abracababra.
Fucking
amazing.
love that.
But its main business was late night, so serving drunk people.
Are kebab shops like bagel places in that they always have puns in their names?
I
Like,
mean,
bagel me this. The bagel place in Long Island that I went to was called One If by Bagel.
Wait, what is it?
It was called One If by Bagel. As in like two if by land, one if by
Really?
bagel.
Oh,
that
That's
is
not
a
even a good one.
stretch.
It's a
What was the first
terrible
one? Yeah,
Bagel me this.
I see
does
Thai
that riddle
ones.
me this?
Yeah.
One more Thai. I like that one.
One more Thai.
I've seen better Thai food.
A stumble
puns.
in, a lot of
Something
bars.
Yeah.
Welcome
Oh, yeah.
in.
But I picture, kebab shops.
Well, Abracabab is a chain.
Abracabab
which still
is
exists,
amazing.
Quite a
Yeah.
large franchise. So that there's a direct link to that and me going to China, because that episode became about how badly these workers are being treated by drunk people at night. But Ireland was booming then, so they had immigration for the first time, and there was a lot of Chinese workers. They were Chinese students. They could work on a student visa, so they were coming here, not really studying, and just using the visa to work.
Why did they want to come to Ireland specifically?
Because
'Cause
it
it was
became
booming.
known. It was easy. No, because it was an easy visa. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Easy to get work, but an easy visa. You could work legally without any hassle.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And particularly from the northeast of China, it's like kind of like word spread. Like Chinese whispers. It got around. And so there was a huge population of people, young people coming from the northeast of China. Anyway, I was working with them, and we got really friendly. And there's a direct link to that experience and how I ended up in China. But the rest of the jobs were, I worked in like a leisure center, like a pool, like an indoor water park.
Okay.
But not that really many slides, but cool enough little indoor water park.
Sure.
So I was like the squeegee guy, and
Yeah.
I would look after the lines. And
Yeah.
that episode, so the first episode became about the way people have been treated. That episode honestly really just became about like, excuse me, the boredom of jobs, and a little bit about like if you get sick, what would that be like? Because at the end of the day, most of my coworkers were like seasonal workers. So it wasn't like, we're talking about like these people trying to raise a family. You're not going to try to, we were not in the business of like exaggerating hardship. We were trying to be really honest.
Sure.
But also, that episode was really funny because a lot of people had shitty jobs when they were teenagers. So a lot of people just identified with
Sure.
that time in your life where you had a shitty job.
Yeah.
So that was that episode. The third episode was really about the hardship because it was in Dublin and I was working in a hotel, but just life was just expensive. So that was really about how isolating it could be.
And you didn't cheat this whole time.
I couldn't cheat because I'm doing stand-up about it. If I cheat, I'm not having the experience, then I don't know what I'm talking
Wow.
about.
Imagine you book a gig, you book a 5-month gig, and like, what's it pay? Minimum wage the whole time.
Oof. That's
Yeah,
hard.
but you got to, that you're making a TV show.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you know at the end of that did you get some more money at the end?
Well, we're getting paid to make a TV show.
Sure, but you can't touch that money for 5 months.
No, but that's fine.
That's
But it
a
wasn't-
long time.
No, it wasn't in a row. It was 4
Oh.
months, and it wasn't in a row.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
4 different jobs.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
And also, that series actually changed my life.
It sounds like a cool series.
But it made me hugely famous.
That's great.
So I was always acutely aware. I didn't know it was going to be successful, but I was acutely aware that this kind of negative experience I was having was actually one that was going to like lead to better things.
I think in each episode on the bottom of the screen, they should have also showed how much you were going to get paid for that episode at the end of the day.
Yeah, which wasn't a lot of money. It was Irish TV, but still.
Sure.
No,
sure.
but we were never. I was very honest always throughout the series of just like, I know that I'm leaving this. So you're just trying to represent the experience as best for the people that are stuck in it, but also to give people compassion. The idea was to give the general populace compassion,
Of course,
for what people are dealing with.
Yeah.
I was saying, I have a bit right now. We were, the documentary Super Size Me?
Yes.
Yeah. Why'd you seem so exhausted by that?
Because in 2005,
He's got
after
opinions.
the success of this series that we're just talking about, I did the Aspen Comedy Festival and had all the LA meetings. And every time I pitched, I lived on minimum wage. They were like, oh, Morgan Spurlock's doing that in a series called 30 Days after the success of Super Size Me. And the funny thing was that Super Size Me was starting to be promoted while we were filming our documentary. And I remember being like, wow, this is so cool. And then eventually it cock-blocked me.
Oh my God.
I'm
And
so
his
sorry
30
to bring
days,
that up.
his 30 days was such a fucking phony bullshit series.
Well, what I brought up, we had a boys' weekend, me, Douglas, and two friends, and I mentioned the fact that he was heavily drinking for that whole So I basically the bit I have now is just, this is the energy I bring to things, and then the final joke being like, and I never even saw Super Size Me, but you at one point I was telling you this, and you just went, the world. I basically I was telling you the whole documentary, everything in it was false. He was an alcoholic.
Yeah,
he was accused of sexual assault. Admitted now.
No,
dead.
he wasn't accused. He actually outed himself.
He outed himself, right?
himself?
He outed himself.
He preemptively
It was
canceled himself.
the Me Too movement was coming,
Wow.
and I'm sure there was like something gonna come out, and he's like, let me poetically try to address this.
Preemptively, but he died like a year later.
Yeah.
But then at one point you just went, the world. Just like
That's what I said?
Yeah, you were just like, the world.
The world.
Yeah,
The
the problem,
world.
So
the
true.
issue around things like Super Size Me was like now it's so prevalent, that type of journalism, fake journalism. But it was so effective at the time in terms of like McDonald's. McDonald's had to like change their policies and like the fact that McDonald's, I think, pretty sure they have salads because of Super Size Me, and like.
Yeah. Well, also that guy, the guy who had a heart attack, woke up and then went on a one-man crusade against saturated fat, and that's why they changed the recipe for the fries. Have you heard about this?
No, I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, man, it's on another podcast. It's on Revisionist History. It's on Malcolm Gladwell's thing.
Yeah.
But there was this guy, very rich man. I'm gonna butcher this, but he's very rich. He had a heart attack. He woke up and he was like, "What happened?" And this lady was like, "You had a heart attack." He's like, "Well, I'm a healthy person." She's like, "Do you have a lot of saturated fat?" And he was like, "What's that?" He learns about it. He was so rich that he put out papers, articles in the paper, and like big billboards in Times Square, like calling out McDonald's, Burger King, and all these things because they were using beef tallow to fry their fries. They were using animal fats. They were using saturated fats, and he made them all switch, and they all eventually bent the knee, and now they all use like vegetable fats and stuff. And the whole thing about this article was like, maybe you have, but we have never had the good McDonald's French fries. We've never had
That's
like
the conclusion of the article.
The funny thing is now that because that was based on misinformation, now they're going back to beef tallow because the new misinformation is that seed oils are bad for you, which is also bullshit.
Exactly.
And RFK Jr. is bringing them back to beef tallow.
Yeah. But at least it tastes better.
It's just
But is that going to be
like,
the new misinformation in 2 years from now? We're going to
all
go back,
the- but
back
so
and
much-
forth, back
so-
and forth.
Totally.
Maybe don't eat McDonald's.
even the best science of nutrition always just ends up, being proved like not 100% accurate. So it's very hard to keep up with the nutritional science.
It's brutal.
But
all nutrition. I asked my doctor one follow-up question to anything, and he goes, "We don't know." He goes, "The eggs are fine," and I'm like, "So I could have 3 a day?" It's like, "Well, that's a lot," and I go, "But it's fine."
No, come on, that was like 20 years ago.
3 eggs. I have 3 eggs every single day.
So do I. So do I.
Yeah.
And
But listen, they'll come for me, the seed oil people. But like, you can research that shit. This whole thing that seed oils are really bad for you is fucking.
You know what I
bullshit.
think about a lot is the McDonald's talk about. It's the intersection of comedy too. Is the woman who spilled the hot coffee on herself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And
that was so long ago.
And every comedian,
Used to
including
make
Jay Leno,
fun of her.
it's awful. To be a late night host is such a mistake if you're talking about the news, because every documentary about someone who
Yes.
was wrong.
Yes.
It starts with a montage, and then sure enough, a minute. Yeah, we read about this thing. There's the
Jay
coffee
Leno.
spilled on the woman.
And you have to
the
include,
coffee was hot.
You have to include something about OJ and the LA riots.
Yeah.
It always has to be like a mention.
Oh
somewhere.
man. All the
And-
Monica
yes, like,
Lewinsky.
the
All the
coffee
Monica.
was hot. That's like OJ said. I had no idea. The knife was sharp. and people are laughing, and it's like you're the face of the public opinion at the time.
Yeah.
But that was, they say that the coffee was extraordinarily
It really was.
hot,
Yeah.
burns and
Yes.
burns, and
She had severe burns.
She had severe
and
burns.
comedians made the error of essentially helping the corporation against the little man.
Also,
But isn't it funny though also that McDonald's, and I'm not sticking up for McDonald's, but they do always end up at the forefront of like everything that's wrong with modern society when they are not.
That's what happens when you sell that many burgers. You're going to be held accountable.
yeah, our friend Chris is.
It's the fries are the fucking big offender, by the way.
Our friend Chris, which he talks about a lot. Chris is a little bit more conservative friend. He's not really even that much.
You
But,
mean conservative in relation to you guys?
Yes, conservative in relation to relation to us.
So, like,
just
just
thought
slightly
Reagan
leftist.
did a decent job.
Yeah,
Right.
But so we're driving up to this boys' weekend, and we stop and get McDonald's, and he's a big proponent of McDonald's. He loves McDonald's, and we get the food, we start eating it, we pay for it. He goes, "How much was that?" And I was like, "Oh, $30." And he goes, 3 grown men eating for $30. It was delicious. That's America for you. That's America." He just went into this thing about how great McDonald's was, and me and Russell are just like, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
Yep.
Like, he is just a big fan. He's loving it.
Can I
Luckily,
say
I'm
that-
just not into. I'm not. I'm like, the only fast food, I guess, if it's considered fast food, is like Mexican for me.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Can I tell you? Listen, I don't eat a lot of McDonald's, but when I think of my last meal, I always consider that McDonald's would
Really?
be it.
Really?
Because it's nostalgia tied.
Yeah.
It's tied to nostalgia.
Wow.
I just
but those
don't enjoy
fries, Oh, those fries are so fucking
Most
good.
inmates for their last meal request McDonald's.
Really?
That's that. Yeah.
That
that's
would be,
marketing
That
at
would be
work.
such a good
Yeah.
commercial.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
Well, there's this great book. There's this great book that where one of the characters pitches a cooking show for last meal, things like
From
that.
the same producer who brought you The Immigrants.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's diabolical. But like, basically, the pitch was that the chef would like look into their past and find what their mom made and like make the perfect thing for them before they're shuffled off to this mortal coil.
Wow. That's
diabolical. But I would watch the shit out of that show. It'd be
and
on
then
Food
whoever
Network.
meal was the best, if the mom made it, so the mom has to make the meal.
Oh,
Whoever
okay.
meal's the best, they don't have to die. They get to walk free.
Yeah.
Add a little competition
yeah,
element in there.
Little competition.
That's the problem with reality TV. Man. It gets dark fast.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Des, let's go on to our next segment. This has got to stop.
Next segment. You know that we never finished any of our stories.
This
Is
has
that
gotta stop.
Is this always the way? Is this
Yeah.
always the way with you?
I know you're used to what, NPR or whatever.
Yeah,
the
I'm
fuck?
just used to
Used to,
just like
so
getting
now
to the
let's
end
move
of
on
things.
to this.
We began so many things.
I know. Well, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes.
That's a generational difference.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I just think it's a style. It's just a style.
Oh.
Listen, I'll do the other thing too. The next time you can come on, I'll have a formal. I'll have a book.
I like your notes though.
This has got to stop. This is a segment where we talk about things that need to come to an end. Big, small, personal, public. Douglas, do you ever this has got to stop?
Yes, stop pretending that you're not on Ozempic.
Oh, the pretending.
Stop doing it. Stop. You look like a sexy skeleton, and it took 3 months. You're on Ozempic.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that's okay.
Yes,
You're
that's
on Ozempic.
fine.
It's fine. But you're making me feel bad because I don't have any willpower and I fucking can't stand it.
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm not talking
Well,
about
let me ask
celebrities.
you-
I'm
let me
talking
ask
about
you a
my
question.
friends.
Why aren't you on Ozempic?
I want to be.
Well, why aren't you on it?
Well, because I'm not, because my
Stop being angry at the people that are lying.
No.
Get
I'm-
angry at yourself for being a pussy.
Oh, it's
and
gonna
not going to
happen.
the doctor.
Well, I don't have enough money.
It's very
I
expensive.
don't know. It's so expensive, and I'm not. I'm
not
obese.
eligible.
I'm not obese
you're not
enough.
fat enough.
My doctor was like, I want you to go on it. And then the insurance company was like, you're not fat enough. Come on.
They're trying to sweeten you up. They're like, you look
you're
great.
not fat enough. I was like, what are you, my mother?
Really?
You got to put on weight to lose it.
Yeah, you got to put on weight to lose it. Isn't that wild?
That's a real thing. They'll say it's
Yeah, because I'm not like
is it a
super
numbers
obese.
based or is it like diabetes or
I don't know.
It's
I don't know.
it's a certain level of obesity or diabetes.
Yeah. And I'm now there are other options and I'm looking into it because it Hims has it and all that stuff.
Hims, Roman.
Hims
So
really?
for the record,
Joins the
record,
Patreon.
I took Manjaro for 8 weeks
What is that?
because I
it's
tore
the
my
other one?
It's the other one? Sorry.
I tore my ACL last year. I hide it well, but I had gotten to I was over 230 pounds.
Okay.
Whereas most of my life in and around 200.
Yeah.
So to take a little weight off my knee and a little anti-inflammatory properties apparently.
Sure.
I said, fuck it. And I got 2 months of Manjaro off of Roman. So you can get your Viagra Cialis
Yep. Same
or
with
your
Hims.
Manjaro.
It's
Same with
very
Hims.
Well,
funny.
Zepbound, but Zepbound and Manjaro are the same.
Yeah.
It's just funny. Romans or Hims, they just, and listen, we're hoping Hims sponsors this and I use it, but it's just like, it's a company that started with hair and they're like, what else guys got
else?
going
Yeah,
on?
yeah.
Okay, we'll cover that
It's
too.
hair and boners, and then they got into like Xanax.
But with the
They're like, hey,
bone-
what are you gonna do with those boners? Let's lose.
But with the boners, they even have. Are you taking too long? They've got all the things with boners.
they got the full spray.
They've got
spray?
like, are you coming in a couple seconds? We got something for you. They got it all.
Wow, we'll send someone over.
Hims.
You need some new positions? You trying to mix it up?
Hims, Roman. Yeah,
Wow.
you can get compounded semaglutide for cheap off of off of Hims. But they're fighting because the U.S. government is saying that now that there's not a shortage, that they shouldn't be allowed to do compounded semaglutide.
I don't know.
What? It's Ozempic, but it's like basically, it's not even generic Ozempic. It's basically like they source all the stuff independently and make it themselves.
Yeah. Now I have a friend who's.
I was
I have a
thinking
friend.
use the mic.
I have a friend who is mixing it. I have a friend who's mixing it himself. He's getting like the separate
What?
glutides.
You have an alchemist friend?
He's out. That's what my friend Ravi is like. Yeah, I've been mixing it myself. He's gonna give me like a tutorial.
One
I'm gonna
injection,
like-
get a bone,
I
you
don't
lose
know.
10
He's
pounds
injecting
and
it.
your hair grows everywhere you want. Wait, so, okay, but just to be clear, you weren't necessarily calling out celebrities. You're saying
Anybody.
Friends, anybody. It's not a bad thing.
How do people, okay, so
Because there's been some influencers that have got called out because they were basically getting incredibly fit and skinny and not
Yeah.
admitting it. So they
Of
were saying it
course.
was their diet.
And I do
Exactly.
think if you made your whole brand on like body, like accepting your body
Yes.
as it is, you
Sure.
definitely
And there's
need
been a
to,
couple
you
of
need
big
to
ones.
share. You need to share. Well, not
Yes.
that big anymore, but you need to share
Comedians.
your thought about it, because otherwise it does feel like a betrayal to say
It
this
is.
thing. And you made a lot of money. And I'm not saying, listen, I get it. We all get it, but you got to at least talk about it.
Exactly.
And because maybe some people don't want to take it. Maybe they can't afford it. Maybe it's health reasons. But you have to explain. And you might be rightfully called out if you made a lot of money off saying, "Hey, everything's okay." But now it's so. Tove and I saw someone, and it was like, as they walked away, it was like, "Oh my God, that person looked." I mean, I didn't recognize them.
Night and day.
And the question is, it's someone I just saw. We're not like close friends. Should they have gone, "Hey, it's me. I'm taking," like, when do you bring it up? Are you like, when, how do you say it? We need an easy way to be like,
Well, no, I think
yeah.
you say it if you go, "Oh my God, you look amazing. You lost so much weight." I think that's when you go, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Yeah.
You make the
Yeah. Thank God.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think a little thing like, that's easy.
Yeah.
I'm on the pen.
Yeah. And
On the pen is what a lot of people say.
on the pen,
Yeah.
dude. I'm gonna
On the
wanna
pen.
Yeah.
I want to be on the
I'm
pen.
on the pen.
On
gonna
the
do it.
pen.
Even though I wasn't on the pen, I actually had to inject myself.
Oh wow.
I had to like I had to
Oh,
pull it out of the thing
And do it?
I had to go.
That's scary.
That scares me.
The first time it was
The bubble,
but then
right?
you become like a fucking
you become a surgeon.
yeah. You're
You're on the pit. He's on the pit, and he's just doing it.
Fucking sticking it out. Like,
You're doing it on the side of the street next to the heroin addict.
Yeah, being the heroin addict.
They're like, you don't need to use the belt. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Well, actually,
They-
I never used the belt, but there was because once you've taken Manjaro, even looked it up on fucking Lime, then your TikTok they know. So I was on Manjaro Ozempic TikTok, and it was like, so here's some advice if you're on a GLP-1, and one of the things was you can't inject into your arm unless you have something. So somebody was like, get a really strong hair clamp and you can clamp your arm. So there are ways to inject it into your arm if you're on your own.
Yeah,
if you're with
yeah.
somebody else, you can just get them to hold it.
Here's my branding. They send you a belt with it, and you've taken enough when you can put the belt on.
Yeah. But that's a real thing.
What?
So I wear a lot
Damn
of
it! They
no,
beat me
like
to it.
no, in the sense that
Spoiled again.
like when you're getting to like 2 holes on a fucking belt, you're like, okay, this thing is done. It's
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
Do you know that my entire wardrobe of suits was unwearable?
Sure.
And now I am back wearing all of them.
Good
so
for you.
I basically like thousands of dollars worth of clothes I'm now back wearing.
Sure.
Because a lot of people at the show are
Hell
like,
yeah.
you don't wear suits as much. And I was like, yeah, because they don't fucking fit me. And I'm like, I don't want to buy a whole load of new suits for Fat Des because when I can start fucking exercising again, this motherfucker's going to be gone. But that was before I knew I was going to hit the pen and fucking go in the HOV.
Just
to
so you know,
fucking
the other
skinniness.
comics, we never meant for you to hear the nickname Fat Des. We were just saying it just as a joke.
Hey. Are you old
That
enough?
Irish? No, I mean I'm familiar with Cosby. For other
I'm going to sing a song for you. Anyway.
Was that is there a Cosby?
No, that's
Irish
the
song?
beginning of Fat Albert.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't
Fat
know.
Albert
That's
song.
I only know Hey Hey Hey.
Oh, that's the beginning of Fat Albert.
What would be
Hey.
what's Hey in Ireland? What do you say?
What do you mean?
How do
They
you
speak
say-
English in Ireland.
Yeah, but don't you say something like hi, hi, hi? Don't you say something? You have some slang.
Yeah, but I don't know in the like.
We say hi. Just say hi in to your Irish mates.
Most Irish people would say, "How's it going?"
How's it going? How's it going? How's it going?
How are you?
Good.
How are you? The Dublin people say. Colin Terrell would say, "How are you?"
How are you?
How are you?
Yeah,
So
there
that
you
would be
Hey.
how are you? How are you? How are you?
There you go.
Fat Des. My this has got to stop. Okay, my this has got to stop. Whether it's like a WeWork or whether it's like tech offices, there's a lot of office spaces where they have a snack area, and it feels like this was thriving at some point. There was some point where all the containers were filled with snacks and there was coffee things, and it just feels like we let go of it. And then you have to get rid of the snack space.
Yes.
Because you walk into the snack space, you go, ooh, some snacks. And it's like one thing of oatmeal, a gross kind of chip, and then the rest
Yeah,
are
and like
empty.
coffee-stained mugs.
Coffee-stained
yeah.
mugs.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, guys, you have to refill this stuff.
Yeah. Well, if you can't hire somebody that's looking after that area,
Yeah.
or certainly that area is part of their daily remit, then you can't keep that area.
You get rid of it. Fill it with something else. But don't get my hopes up with all these baskets.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like they're so few and far between now. Like that type of office environment.
Yeah, but I still go to
Yeah.
a lot where like clearly they started and they were
What
inspired
are you
by
going
the
in-
Silicon Valley model.
What is
what
happening in your
offices?
life that you're going to offices?
I went to I don't want to call out the. We're friends. 800-pound gorilla. I'm working with an editor there. Great. They're doing a great job. Let's refill the snacks a little bit. Editing takes a long time.
Well, editing places always traditional because that was the one thing in my early Irish comedy career. Every now and then I'd get asked to do like a voiceover, and you'd go to like the voiceover studio.
Yes.
And back then, like it had to be fancy.
Yes.
And like that was always the big thing. It was like help yourself. But I feel like a lot of that's
Also,
fading.
you know that local news
No
places.
hair and makeup anymore.
Oh, no hair and makeup, but like the fridges and they're empty. Well, then get rid of the
Yes.
fridge. Don't give me a present and there's nothing inside. I go to that
Yeah.
fridge. I go, ooh, nothing.
There's nothing that ruins the magic of television more these days than when like you have like a 7:30 a.m. Morning television spot, and like there's nobody to even open the door.
Yeah.
It feels like
It's a ghost
50% of the
town.
place is like no longer.
And they're
in use
dying
at
industries.
all.
I get it, but like you can't just eliminate snacks. I feel like they said, oh well, we either make the anchor not be paid $28 million a year, or we get rid of all the LaCroix.
Yeah.
And I go, you got to keep a little bit, make me feel a little special.
But have you gone to any of the local
yeah.
early shows?
Oh,
Yeah.
you mean like good ones or bad ones?
No, just like nobody's making that kind of money on those shows.
No one. Yeah, it's bad.
It's
bad.
bad.
Shut it down.
I
Shut
mean,
it down.
That's what I don't
Stop
understand.
making me go to them. I don't think it's moving any tickets.
That,
Do you have a-
Yeah, well, you don't even have to go if you don't want. I actually enjoy the morning shows. I just get a kick out of it.
Yeah, sometimes it's fun when they're ready to have fun. Sometimes
Yes.
it's.
Yeah.
Do you have this?
Well, you can't say anything anymore.
Yeah.
How do you do comedy?
Yeah.
In the Midwest, you get that. So what is it again? What is it called?
This has got to stop.
This has got to stop. Actually, I have a question first. Who came first, this segment or Subway Takes?
I think Las Culturalistas, I don't think so, honey.
Oh.
And I think before them, something on the Ed Sullivan Show. And I think before them, there were cave
curious.
paintings of a big X over a saber-toothed tiger.
So
But
go ahead.
it's
These saber-toothed tigers, they gotta stop.
yeah.
Sorry, I want to keep on going with that.
No, we could. Yeah, this has got to stop. And then the blessing is fire. Yeah, I admire Subway Takes.
No, I enjoy it. I was just. I'm not judging you, by the way. I was just when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, this feels quite like Subway Takes.
Yeah.
But I also know your pod's been around for a long time, so I was
Yeah. We came up with the doing it in a stationary setting.
Yes.
So my one is like deciding that certain toppings can't go on certain foods. I mean, it's inspired by people judging people who like pineapple on pizza.
Yes, which I do like. Without the ham.
I like also.
Totally good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's not totally good to everybody.
Yeah.
But it's also unnecessarily controversial in the sense that
Yeah.
people that are not into it are like, it's just wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how, like, if this tastes good to me, why is it wrong? Like, when did like pizza become like a protected structure, like a fucking brownstone in Park Slope?
Yeah. And,
you know
and
what
they
I mean?
act like
Yeah.
it's going to be a disaster, or if you get 4 pies and one half has pineapple on pizza, it's going to be a disaster. And I bet you there's a correlation between those people and racists.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
You can't
but there
even
really
mix the
isn't-
pizza. Good luck mixing the babies.
Yeah, but you know what's crazy is that it doesn't correlate that way, in that like people in my life that are very rational and very open-minded are very close-minded around.
Really?
Yeah, there's just this thing that like it's just wrong, and they'll always say like, "Oh, an Italian would never allow this."
Okay, here's a sketch pitch. Ready?
Yeah.
KKK meeting.
Okay.
And someone goes like, ugh, pineapple on pizza. And the Grand Wizard goes, hey, there's no rules about this. You can mix. It tastes good.
can
He
mix.
likes this.
Yeah.
I like this. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
God, we don't got to be selective about everything.
Yeah.
yeah, but so I do respect cultures in that, like, even though I think it's dumb, in the times that I've been to Italy, I will never order a cappuccino after 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Sure. When in
I
Rome.
get it.
But I don't want to get judged by them. But I also think it's fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't get why they've held on to this, but that's fine. I'll go with the flow.
Yeah.
But if I live there, I'm going to push a little more.
Yeah, but
you go, okay,
can
I'll
understand.
respect it.
I can understand why some people have like these hang-ups about what's acceptable and what isn't. But like in a situation where even most New York pizza places now have pineapple on their pizza, why are you holding on to the fact that there are tons of people that think this is because it's just sweet and savory? Like sweet and savory
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
bring up that much controversy in other sweet and savory areas.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Like apple walnut salad doesn't elicit such anger. Craisins.
Craisins.
And not that I'm gonna go after the black community, but there is one.
Please, Des,
There is
please
one.
don't.
Please.
No, there is one that if I ever do a black room, I'm gonna hit him on this.
Okay.
They say that raisins in potato salad is a white thing. And
Des,
they're
God
very-
bless you. You go for it.
They're very judgmental about raisins in potato salad, which I have absolutely no problem if you want to say it's a white thing.
Okay.
But what I am going to say is, why are you so resistant to it when it's just sweet and savory? Because I guarantee you, some of you
I love this.
will enjoy raisins.
Say it to the camera.
Some of you will enjoy raisins in the potato salad. But I have seen a lot of black Twitter like memes about like
Yeah,
white
yeah.
people things.
Yeah, that's definitely
And
the thing.
raisins in the potato salad is a white people thing.
I would
and by
never
the way,
do that.
I 100% appreciate a lack of trust in white people and white institutions, but you're wrong on raisins in the potato salad.
Everything else.
You think that
100%.
that's good? You think raisins in the potato salad?
I like.
You had it recently.
I'm a sweet and savory guy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like raisins in the potato salad.
You should bring your own little box of raisins to the
I
black
like
to the black
grapes.
cookout.
I like grapes with my chicken.
You got hot
salad.
sauce in your bag? I got a.
Yeah.
Oh,
raisins.
what's it called?
Box. Of,
What's that? What's the red box with the woman on it?
oh God.
I'd
California
be
raisins?
so much better at improv if I could do that thing.
Sunmade.
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 Okay, ready?
Oh,
We
yeah.
can edit.
Here we go.
You could be like, "Oh, you got hot sauce in your bag? I got Sunmade in mine. I got Sunmade in my tote bag."
A white person going around sprinkling their own raisins
Yeah,
on
sprinkle.
black potato salad would be the funniest thing you could do at that.
Des, you should make that bit.
So actually,
At the Apollo.
No, I have thought about it as a bit, and I just haven't found the place to do it. Or a couple of times I thought about it, I was like,
Harlem.
No, because I keep thinking about it and then not doing it because I was thinking like this would be a good clip because it's like everyone will have their fucking opinions. But then I kind of because I have, by the way, I have a bit about pineapple on pizza, and that is a very well contained bit. And therefore, I was thinking about sweet and savory.
I think so. This is a whole
sweet and
special.
savory stuff.
The special is called Sweet and Savory right there.
It's written. Unfortunately, I just put the pineapple on pizza bit into the other one.
Hey, redo it. It's a new world.
But yeah. But I think it's a reasonable bit because there's nothing offensive about it.
You know how Eddie Murphy had on his first album, he had a track that was called The F Word?
Sure.
And then the next track, it was F Words Revisited.
Oh, God.
In parentheses.
Yes.
Really?
Sweet and savory revisited.
Stop it.
Well, I could call my special.
Revisited.
I could call my special sweet and savory. It's not a bad title actually.
Hey,
Yeah.
there you go. That's what we're here for.
that's
I
a
do
good
feel
title.
I do feel like being so worked up about pineapple on pizza is the same as like being like the word moist.
Yes.
Like people
Yes.
people who are like
You lost me a bit on that one.
What'd you say?
I literally in the same special have a whole bit about the word moist.
Oh, really?
How much you hate it?
No, actually, I talk about like I challenge why people are
it's
so.
stupid.
But I think what it is.
like, oh, don't even.
But there's an
say
NPR
that.
radio documentary about it.
I think
Oh,
it's,
really?
but
Yeah.
I think those things, like, I always wonder, it's like someone who struggles to figure out how to talk or socialize or be funny.
Yes,
They
yes,
go like,
yes.
here's the thing that's like the thing. It's
Yeah,
kind of like a
yeah.
meme. It's a internal joke.
Exactly.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But a lot of people.
It's a
hate
way
the
to have
word
a
moist.
personality.
So do you want to know what?
It's a personality
The
in
conclusion
a
of
word.
the woman on NPR.
Yeah.
She went all over America interviewing people about moist.
Okay.
And her non-scientific.
You know what? Trump is right to fund NPR. This
Yeah,
is an insane waste
literally.
of our taxes.
Her conclusion was that people don't like the word moist because it makes them think of a woman's vagina. That's the subconscious aversion.
And
to
I could argue
moist.
that's why I love that word.
Yes. And
I'd argue that's why I love the word dry.
I make a dry joke in my moist bit.
You have to.
You have
You
to.
have to.
Anyway, whatever. It's funny that you brought that up because
Yeah, that's.
Let's go into our final segment.
oh.
Your blessing.
I wrote all those.
Is that you?
Yeah, it's me.
Very Flight of the Conchords.
Exactly.
We got a new song of yours that will debut when we need it.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Well,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna fix it.
Yeah,
Do you do
but I'm saying-
comedy?
I'm a musician and a comedian. I'm a sketch comedian.
Because in my opinion, one of the big differences between European comedy and American comedy is there's more musical
By the way,
comedy.
I don't believe in European comedy.
Well, there's
But
more
continue.
musical comedy, and there's, speaking of judgments similar to Pineapple and Pizza, there's a real judgment towards musical comedy here.
I got it.
In New York or like in
Here-
America.
here comes
In
one. Here's one of
America,
them right here.
let me tell
Here's
you
one of them right here.
Let me tell you what it is. Musical comedy can be great. Here's why it's very challenging, in my opinion. I think especially stand-up comedy involves a lot of surprise. Like, one thing I think people don't really appreciate about stand-up comedy specifically is that the punchline not only has to be funny, it has to, you can't see it coming, because all you're offering a person on stage is you talking. That's very little things to distract them as you surprise them with comedy. So your literal words, your literal thought has to evoke a gut laugh, like the same way a scare would in a movie.
But when you're setting up a rhyme,
When you're setting up a rhyme or when you're singing,
Sure.
the moment you hear that first joke, that can be great. And I know plenty of songs where that first joke, once you get the premise, you go, that's very funny. And then if you don't continue to turn and veer and surprise, it starts to feel predictable.
I agree with that.
And then most of the time, the music is also fine.
So what
I
I'm going
agree
to
with
do
that.
here is push back on you and say, I understand this, 100% agree with your take, but all you're describing is good stand-up versus bad stand-up.
sure.
Sure. Sure.
Because you could say that about all stand-up, like some stand-ups are awesome and some are good, but
someone who makes a
dissipates.
song can ultimately end up headlining or doing long sets sooner because songs have length, and that
Yes.
allows them to get longer presence in front of my ears and eyes
Mm-hmm.
in a way that has degraded the whole art form. So of course it can be
So
good.
here's my thing about it. The fact that there's so much judgment about it here, though, shortchanges the audiences because you very rarely see it here. Whereas you commonly see it in Europe, but not to the point where it takes over, but to the point where it adds to a lineup. Because at the end of the day, variety is the spice of life. And
Sure.
there's sometimes, particularly in New York, not enough variety on the type of comedy
I
that
don't
you're
disagree.
seeing.
I always want more variety on comedy shows.
I'm gonna do it more.
And I don't
Right in
mean
your
about
face.
sex and race. I don't just mean about that. I also mean about styles. There's a serious
100%.
lack of variety.
I
of
was told I
styles.
was too one-man show for a comedy club back in the day. I get it.
You should go to Europe.
I understand. I am.
You're the
I'm
norm.
going to Europe
The only
in
problem
2
you'll
weeks.
have in Europe is that you're just another fucking one-man show guy.
Let me tell you, Des, if you want your raisins in the potato salad bit to really sing, perform it on a guitar in a black room in Harlem.
Amen. No, fuck that. I'm dropping a beat and fucking looping my own beatbox.
Oh, that's-
I'm looping my own beatbox at a fucking thing. And I'm going to say, and this is a song I wrote called Raisins in the Potato Salad. And you know that shit's going to kill.
Des,
And I'm going to change my voice.
I don't.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I'm going to change my accent when I do it. I'm going to be like, this one's called Raisins in the Potato Salad.
No,
Deal with it.
Des.
Deal with it.
Wait, I have a blessing. Please. I have a blessing.
Oh, yeah, but we're in the middle of a bit that we never did.
Yeah. So I'm on the subway the other day. Here, put your leg down. Okay. I'm on the subway the other day, and I sit down next to a lady who maybe she was 50 years old. She could have been older, but we didn't exchange any glances. When her stop came, she went.
Wow.
She put her
How old was
hand
she?
on my leg. Not that old, 50 something, and it was so intimate. I've been living in the city for almost 20 years, and no one has ever done that to me. She put her hand on my thigh and pushed, and then kind of give it a little tap as she walked away. It was so weird, and it's really stayed with me. Like, the warmth of somebody else's hand on the subway, and it made the city feel just a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? Love that.
It felt really nice. And I know that, like, you can't do that to anybody. Don't go out and do that on the subway. But, like, something about her doing it was really nice.
Isn't it funny? Because when you say the warmth of a stranger's hand, it sounds like an award-winning novel. But isn't it amazing how that sentence could also be one of the creepiest things of all time?
100%. But something about our dynamic. I'm a 6'2", 250-pound man.
She has bad knees, and you helped her.
Exactly.
She needed a handrail.
It was intimate, and it was nice, and it felt like New York City was a neighborhood.
But now
on the
I've
7.
gotten to the age where my knees are so bad. Had she done that to me, I'd be like, "Oh, do you have bad knees?" And then I'm gonna be like, "Yo, now that you're up,
Yeah. There you go.
give me a hand."
Yeah.
I
help
gotta
me out.
get up too.
But it was just like a nice. It was
Yeah.
it was a nice little.
It's really because it's so beautiful. I always think. I always, me, I'm always like a physical touch. I'm like, there needs to be more room in society for like physical touch. And then the problem is, here comes guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Guys
they
ruin
go,
it.
a big boobs, long hug.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
things like that.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like,
they ruin it.
it's like, how do you open it up? But that's nice. That's a really beautiful
was
thing.
nice. It was
I didn't
nice.
know when you started that, because I don't know if you like that.
Well, female to male touch doesn't need to be policed as hard. And I
Sure.
Yeah.
I've been saying that. No.
I just don't think you feel threatened as much. I'm not saying that it can't happen, but I will say that.
No, for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure. We can put that in the law. That'll make guys real happy.
But I think it's nice that she needed help and you were there for her.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, we find out later that she's like a serial knee groper. But then you're
A
like, listen, if
knee-
you get that much of a kick out of it.
Did you see his videos?
A knee groper.
Andrew Cuomo, he was on like a radio thing recently.
Okay.
He's running for
Well,
office
he's running
again.
for mayor.
He's
So.
running for mayor, and he was ousted partially sexual harassment claims.
Sure.
And he's on this radio show, and there's like a woman on the show, and he's like, "You're beautiful. We should go on a date sometime." And this is like recently
On the show?
on the show, and someone said like
Well,
you
we've
can tell
established.
like someone's a real dog. Where even running, it's like when they let Anthony Weiner like do anything again, and it's like
But he
it's
doesn't
in
do
him.
anything anymore, does he?
I saw
He's
him.
trying again. There's some article.
He's not.
Weiner rises again or some.
I saw him on the subway. I saw him. I was on my way to an audition, and I was like really excited about it. And then I bound up the stairs, and he was at the top of the stairs on crutches, looking like really, really terrible. And I was like, well, that's a bad sign. And I did not do well in my audition.
Yeah.
Anthony Weiner cursed me.
Let me tell you.
he had like broken his leg or something. This was years ago.
And if he broke his leg, you better not be doing the hands on the leg advice
Yeah.
to anyone else. No one's feeling the warmth of that one.
Yeah, what's your blessing?
let's see. I want to make sure you go first.
Did you have a blessing?
So, but this is like for your whole life, right?
No, it could be big or it could be small. It could be something that happened to you this morning. It could be
Only because we talked about it. My blessing is that I was such a bad drinker that I stopped drinking at 19 and went through that experience at a young time in my life, which helped me to navigate the rest of my life in
Nice.
a way that was.
Do you still go to meetings? No, that's a very personal question.
No, I was very active for a long time, but I just
you used 3 slurs on this show.
felt-
I
I
think we should
felt-
go ahead and.
I fell out of the habit of going. I didn't stop going. I just kind of got out of the habit.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I still consider myself like a member of AA, but I'm not active. Well, I did go to a meeting recently, but that was to speak for somebody.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But that was a big part of my life, all that. And helped me a lot in the early days. So
It's beautiful.
A lot of the things that people hit midlife crisis wise, I hit in my adolescence.
Sure.
And I'm grateful for that. Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
We didn't even get to the testicular cancer of it all.
That just happened. That's like one of those things that because it has the word cancer on it, people think that it's going to be like a really like changing point in your life. And trust me, it was like not ideal. But
I think it's less about it's more about the neuroses I'd have with one ball.
Yeah, but that's funny because people think about that before. But it's just never even been an issue. So that's only something you worry about in advance.
Yeah.
When it happens, it's just a fucking irrelevance.
But you don't have a fear, oh, what if I get it in the other ball and then I have no balls?
No, because it doesn't really happen.
It doesn't really happen.
No.
Really,
that's unbelievably rare.
Wow.
Sure.
Yeah, actually. So no, I was never worried about that.
It's amazing. I'd be able to cross my legs a lot more comfortably. One ball sounds great.
With 1 and 2 balls, I was able to cross my legs just as comfortably.
Yeah, there you go.
And actually, unless you tell somebody, nobody will notice, including with your cock in a woman's mouth, she won't fucking notice. Because it's just like one of these things. No, like I literally, you have to tell them.
Yeah, you gotta.
You have to fucking tell them.
Would you always tell before a hookup, just like, hey, just so you know, I only have one ball?
Nope.
Really?
No, it's just like not one of these things that comes up. I mean, I have jokes about it, obviously, but I make jokes about like if their ex-boyfriend was like a balls guy and then they're like looking for it, it's like there's only one. I'm like, what? As a joke.
If you were dirty talking, would you be honest and say, put my ball in your mouth?
No, but so never even with 2 balls, I was never like a balls guy. So that would never
thank
be a
God.
thing. That would never be a thing that would come out of my mouth. And by the way, who's honest in sexting? You want to be like, hey, you want to get a hold of my ample penis? you want to come over and have me suffice? It's not going to happen.
Sure.
You're always going to.
Maybe that's why I don't dirty talk because I'm too honest.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm uncomfortable with dirty
Yeah,
talk
you
because I
can't be
don't want to
honest.
like do that thing of like
That's-
my big fat,
Yeah.
my regular.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't be honest when you're
fine.
sexting. Well, I have another joke actually about how just remember that if you're sexting with somebody that you haven't been with, like it's kind of you've escalated into cyber sex before you've actually met. Just remember you're gonna have to live up to everything that you've written.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Sure.
so that's the big thing that you're gonna have to fucking live up to.
Yeah.
My blessing, Courtney Taylor, my assistant, who's been I believe this was her last week full time. Or list last week was her first week full time.
Okay.
My God, we had every week I tell her, hey, I'm sorry this week was so bad, and every week it's that bad.
Yeah.
But the Delta lost my bag on the way to Nashville. They didn't even put it through at JFK.
Ooh.
So I didn't have it. Then it was supposed to be a midnight flight, and that flight got canceled, and they didn't tell us. So I didn't have the bag. So between that, had to go shop for all clothes, and then we had this TV appearance, and I was like, "Ooh, maybe we could get someone to lend me a boot and a hat for a bit." And she called, and so great to sometimes people. You don't talk about, you don't credit the assistant for a thing because you want the illusion that like you were able to do all these things.
It's the Ozempic effect.
It's the Ozempic
And you don't want to let
effect.
people know you have an assistant.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to give off the struggling artist vibes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I could have 3 assistants. I would struggle just as well as I'm struggling right now.
There's a lot more assistants in American comedy also.
Oh yeah.
That's the other difference.
Oh yeah.
Nobody.
I don't think Chris
The
Farley
whole
had
time,
an
even the most
assistant.
successful comics in Ireland, they never had a fucking
Didn't have an
assistant.
assistant.
No.
Yeah.
It's so common here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like my assistant.
Well, it's also we have a lot of shit we have to do. We're doing it all. The TV networks aren't helping me out. You know.
I get it.
Yeah. So, Courtney Taylor, phenomenal job. Thank you for everything. So lucky to have you on our 2-person team. You said your blessing. Where can people
What's
find
your
you?
blessing?
The woman who
Mine
touched
was
him.
with the hand.
Oh, that was your blessing.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
I was so lost in it, I forgot that it was part of the segment.
Where can people find you?
At Des Bishop on Instagram, Des Bishop 5 on TikTok, and I don't use Twitter. I am there at Des Bishop, but I don't use it.
Yeah.
It's a cesspit, and that's really it. Oh, my specials up on YouTube, Des Bishop Comedy.
Great.
Hell yeah.
And I have a podcast with my wife called Burnaphone.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're like over 40, I have a podcast with another comedian called John Bishop called The Bishop Exchange.
Amazing.
Not about chess.
Where can people find you?
At the Douglas G across all platforms. Some musical comedy, some impressions.
I love your musical comedy. By
Oh,
the
thanks.
way.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah. Oh, I'm amazing.
But you
By the way,
have
I
good
mentioned
music
Flight
too.
of the Conquest. Like, that's fucking musical comedy.
Oh my god, it's great.
Sure?
Incredible musical comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kill it. They kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just stay in your lane.
Stay with the fucking UCB refugees.
Yeah.
The people that have no home to go to now. Stay with them as they wander around the city looking for places to perform.
You can find me on tour everywhere. I'm going to be in Europe when this comes out. I'll be in Europe, going all around. Ireland, not this round because I was there
Really?
too recently. I was
you
there too
were.
recently.
Where did you
But
perform?
I think I just did Dublin. And I want to save it. I want to go do a full run. I want to
Lovely.
do Galway. I love Ireland. Politically, we agree on certain
keep
things.
pushing your current politics, and you'll do well in Ireland.
Sure. Well, I'm doing it for the belief morally, but I'm glad that it helps the sale.
You're not just trying to develop your Irish career.
Yeah, that's what it is. I said, my Jewish career, my Irish career. What do I lean into? Join the Patreon, patreon.com/downside, bonus episodes. Do me a favor, go on Spotify or iTunes, rate and review.
Whoa there. Looks like Russell and Gianmarco are at it again. Spilled just a little too much tea. I think it's best we cut this part out so they can keep some friends in this industry.
And also listen to our episode with Hannah Berner. It was very early on into the podcast where we didn't have that many listeners, but it was such a good episode. We played a lot of Tova's Night Terrors.
Oh, cool.
My girlfriend has Night Terrors, and I told a story about a corporate gig, and Hannah's always an amazing guest. But Tova had a night terror last night. I mean, they're
So you
they're
record
back.
you record her?
I used to sometimes I would know if I go to sleep later. If I walk in the room when I close that door, she'll have one, and I might film it in that moment. Other times we had an app that you turn on, it only records the night terrors, plays them in the morning, but we forget, or the AC triggers it so it records the whole night. And I told her, I said, like, one of the reasons I like to film it, other than there's a joy sometimes to share it, but it's like, it is a surreal, very lonely experience where she's eyes fully awake. She's sometimes very mad at me, and I tell her, like, you're mad at me in the way that you're mad at me normal. It's the same everything, but it's not. It's just like Severance. I mean, it truly is her, but it's a different one.
Yeah.
And last night and it's like, God, I wish I had it. And she goes like, where are the vagina monologues? And she whispers vagina monologues, and I tell her she always like over enunciates when she does it, and eyes fully open, and I go, you mean the book? And she goes, that too, but no, you know. And I go, I don't know.
You correspond with her?
Okay.
Yeah. You got to yes and it.
And I say, I don't know. I try to calm her down, but it really just fades on its own, no matter what I say. And I go, everything's safe. We have everything. And she goes, no, but do we have it? And I go, the vagina? I thought maybe she meant like a sex toy thing.
Yeah.
And she goes, no, you know. And she's mad. She's mad at me. And then she even went up. She went to pee and then came back, and she was still in it. Sometimes if she gets up, like, it fades away, but she was still in it. And I was like, do you know what you wanted me to hide? And she was like, you know.
Wow. So that's kind of sleepwalking, right?
Yeah, but a little more of a nuisance.
But like, is she sleepwalking at that time? Is that?
I guess you could call that sleepwalking, but that part was functional. Everything else was.
That's amazing.
God.
So is that similar to like what Mike Birbiglia had when he did the whole thing with?
Yeah, I think his were definitely more severe. He would jump out the window.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tova could do a whole. Can you imagine she tries to do a one-woman show called The Vagina Monologue?
Well, I just think it's hilarious that even in her night terrors, she's like talking about the arts.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not always the arts, but yeah, honey, I'll be on the lookout, and give me an Irish limerick to see this out.
An Irish limerick?
Yeah.
God.
Put you right on the spot.
A limerick?
Yeah.
That's such a specific poetic style. There once was a man called Gianmarco who really couldn't give a fuck. I have no idea.
Keep going. Let's do it. I love it. There once was a man named Gianmarco.
Oh God. It's such a.
Yeah, it's hard.
He tried to cross his legs, but he had too many eggs, and now his butthole's in the darko.
This is the downside.
You're listening to The Downside
The downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.